Stick with me here. You and I are about to drop right into a brutal city plaza execution. This armored guy is an absolute menace. Raw power is literally sizzling off him like a human thunderstorm. He charges his blade with insane magic for the grim task. Boom, another life snatched, making it almost 100 now. The body count just coldly keeps climbing. This fallen noble died thinking of a botched revolution. He wasn't betrayed by enemies. Nope, it was an inside job. Now, this fake liberator stands on a literal pile of corpses, hyping the crowd. He declares the end of oppression and promises a shiny new era of freedom. Stepping up, he totally commands the stage while the crowd goes absolutely wild. Their cheers echo everywhere. Faces twisted with pure rage, screaming for blood and fire, but deep in the shadows, someone else is watching. Tied up by crazy strong magic, a total prisoner. His eyes know the bitter truth, the crowd is brainwashed. Meet Isaac Quincy. He is the king's top advisor, and yeah, he is having a terrible day. Held captive by the very guys claiming to be liberators. Isaac knows these so-called heroes are just a front for the de Saxe family. They are the real tyrants who have been secretly pulling the strings for centuries. They basically riled up the commoners into a screaming revolutionary frenzy, using all this chaos just to brutally massacre their political rivals. Now, the boss hypes the crowd for the grand finale. He reveals his ultimate trophy. The captured king and the royal council. Isaac knows that crown is just a prop for a puppet ruler. Then, the leader drops a massive, shocking accusation. He claims the royals actually teamed up with demons, which, of course, absolutely hypes the crowd. Sacrificing thousands of their own just for power. The leader completely blasts the royals, his voice booming everywhere. Watch closely here. Isaac knows it is all garbage. Those secret demon meetings, just a totally convenient fairy tale they made up. It is the perfect excuse to feed the council to the angry mob. Still, Isaac smirks. Why? Because they missed the kingdom's ultimate secret weapon. Beside him, another captive named Elizabeth nervously asks if their last hope will actually show up. Isaac is completely sure his ally is hiding out in that crowd. Suddenly, a guard violently shoves him, shutting down their little rebel chat. The twisted tyrant sighs about the waist. He aggressively grabs Elizabeth's face, coldly telling her she only has a few minutes left. He whispers something absolutely vile for her final moments. But wait, a booming voice cuts through the tension, demanding he let her go. The tyrant shoves Elizabeth aside, still cruelly mocking the prisoners. But this mysterious newcomer has officially snapped. The boss tries shouting for backup, but gets instantly shut down. Boom, a massive storm of golden lightning erupts, blasting everyone. The tyrant gets completely caught in it. His helmet literally cracks under the pressure. The guards panic, realizing the prisoner is shattering his restraints. Guards scramble to reinforce the magical lock. Their big brain plan? Just add more magic. Meanwhile, the red-haired guy violently fights back. He figures out this amulet was custom-made to drain his specific energy. Guards surround him, and the boss yells to stop fighting it. But he just flashes an insanely confident smirk. He straight up taunts them, saying their time is over because the real MVP is here. I know you and I are wondering who that is. It is Silas Montfort, his overpowered best friend. Flashback time, academy days where their epic powers awakened. Silas had his whole life ruined when the de Saxe family brutally assassinated his parents. Driven by revenge, these two became absolute brothers in arms. Slashing through enemies side by side, their one massive goal was crushing the tyranny. Tearing the system apart from within, but that epic hero arc got crushed by a nasty betrayal. The flashback ends with his capture. Totally surrounded and outnumbered by enemy knights, but he only thinks of Silas. Silas is still out there, hiding his godlike power from their enemies. Back to reality, the leader moves straight to the next unlucky victim. He drags another royal council member out, painting him as a monster who starved the kingdom. And guess who is next on the chopping block? Yep, Isaac Quincy. But Isaac is not breaking a sweat. His magic chains light up as he braces himself. He just needs to survive a tiny bit longer. Silas is going to crash this party. Isaac smirks big time, telling the boss to check his ego. He exposes their massive blunder. They completely missed Silas, the absolute strongest. The leader freezes up. The name Silas Montfort echoes inside his heavy helmet. Our red-haired hero's eyes go wide, staring directly at the armored boss. The boss pulls off his helmet, revealing his face. It is Silas Montfort. The guy's reality just shatters into a million pieces. His brain literally cannot process it. Silas just hits him with a cynical smirk. He treats their epic brotherhood like some sick joke. Even Isaac is absolutely floored when Silas carelessly laughs off their desperate faith in him. He admits he was running his own play the whole time, just for the bad guys. Cold-eyed, he drops the bomb. The Desacs paid better. Silas slaps the helmet back on, fully turning into the faceless tyrant they swore to destroy. His former best friend just stares, completely destroyed by this ultimate stab in the back. Memories of their 20-year bond violently crash through his head. Two brothers resting after an epic fight. But wow, you and I just witnessed the ultimate betrayal. That empty smile says it all. Stick with me here. We're diving into a wild betrayal where business means sending your own sworn brother straight to the guillotine. The captive screams out his name, that knife of betrayal twisting deep. He realizes Silas just solo-doomed every single one of their comrades. Instantly, that heartbreak morphs into pure, unadulterated rage. But Silas just stands there, completely unfazed. Fueled by absolute fury, our guy unleashes a massive wave of raw, destructive power. One blazing point of hatred shining in his eye. The execution platform explodes as his anger takes monstrous form. He roars, face totally warped by pain and wild, untamed energy. A massive shockwave blasts through the stage, sending bodies flying everywhere. Guards scream in total disbelief as he shatters his bindings, lunging forward for blood. A heavily armored knight drops his sword, stepping up to stop the massacre, but the blade stops dead, just inches from his target. His eyes burn with pure madness. He catches the steel sword directly with his teeth, absolutely terrible for his dental plan. He shatters the steel blade with one furious bite. Silas orders his men to subdue him, but he moves like a ghost, dropping them in a crimson flash. The order officially switches from capture to kill as archers lock on. His eyes burn with cold fire. Emotion replaced totally by vengeance, he summons a pure energy whip, effortlessly swatting away the incoming arrow volley. His fury manifests as a massive spectral beast. The creature slams down hard, completely wrecking everything in its path. He stands right in the middle of the chaos, a whirlwind of magic and rage. Panicking guards scramble to reinforce their magical inhibition spell. Finally, the soldiers manage to surround him, lighting up their magic circles. He screams in absolute agony, reminding Silas of their shattered brotherhood. But Silas just looks totally bored, deciding it is time to end this little dramatic performance. The heavy spell pressure drops the captive right to his knees. Now watch this next part closely. Silas takes matters into his own hands, weaving a massive golden sigil that amplifies those bindings. The magic drops with insane gravity, literally pinning him against the wooden stage. He fights desperately against the overwhelming pressure, his whole body screaming in protest. Silas calmly realizes that if you want a job done right, do it yourself. These shiny new golden restraints completely lock him down, leaving him totally defenseless. Silas grabs his former bestie while that sigil burns with absolute authority. He effortlessly tosses him across the stage. Like some broken toy dragged to the guillotine, our hero desperately demands to know why he was betrayed. Silas just turns his back, coldly claiming he did nothing wrong. He was just a tiny pawn in a much bigger, ruthless game. A pawn, Silas casually adds, that has finally outlived its usefulness. With a chilling, familiar snap of his fingers, the execution order drops. The heavy blade falls in a split second, ending our betrayed hero. His final thoughts are pure disbelief as his whole world fades to black. One last silent protest against an ending he never expected. But his stubborn spirit refuses to fade, igniting one final spark in the dark void. I know what you're thinking. Game over, right? Boom, his eyes snap open, landing in a totally different place. He wakes up in a literal world of fire and chaos, wondering if this is his final judgment. He stumbles through the hellscape, remembering his life's mission. A bitter laugh just escapes him. His big reward for being a hero is a one-way ticket to hell. Total chaos swirls around him as buildings burn to the ground. He gets thrown to the dirt, overwhelmed by this nightmare. Falling to his knees, he insists he doesn't deserve this cruel fate. Then, a memory cuts right through the noise, a voice desperately warning Isaac to take cover. He suddenly realizes this is not hell, it is his own hometown getting destroyed. He recognizes the attacker's armor, Count Rabel's Eastern faction. A frantic voice screams out, trying to snap him out of his weird trance. But young Isaac is just paralyzed. Totally frozen by the sheer horror unfolding around him. He suddenly remembers the kid's name, Gaben, his childhood best friend who died 20 years ago on this exact night. Gaben tries to drag him away from the slaughter, but a heavily armored hand yanks his buddy right back into the brutal fray. Gaben is chucked against a wall with brutal force. He gasps in pain, the impact knocking the wind completely out of his lungs. His eyes go wide, filled with absolute terror at the looming figure. An armored giant steps up, casting a dark shadow over the terrified kid. He raises a massive axe, declaring this is the fate for defying Count Rabel. Our hero watches, absolutely horrified. His lost friend's name slips out in a painful whisper. But as the blade drops, someone finally breaks free from the paralysis. He snatches a fallen shield, ready to rewrite the past. In a blur, he intercepts the fatal strike meant for Gaben. The knight stops, totally stunned by this impossible, split-second block. Riding the momentum, our hero throws a massive punch straight into the soldier's heavy chest plate. The armored giant staggers backward from the unexpected force. But then, our guy looks at his own hand, wondering why his attack felt so weak. He stares at his hands as a horrifying realization hits him. His god-tier powers are completely gone. The knight grabs his hair, mockingly praising his decent technique. He sighs that such disrespect means our hero won't live to become a real soldier. But our guy isn't even listening. A crazy thought flashes through his mind. He touches his own cheek, confirming the absolute impossible. The scar he had for years is gone. A familiar voice screams at young Isaac Quincy to run for his life. The knight ignores the kid, dropping his massive axe. Trust me, we need to watch this. Stick with me here. We are about to watch our hero face an unavoidable end, out of magic and strength. But at the last possible second, a hand blocks the falling blade. The axe stops dead, caught by some invisible figure with insane strength. Our mystery savior struggles, realizing real quick that brute force will not cut it. He needs pure technique. The heavily armored giant, totally unimpressed by this last-minute rescue. He just scoffs, pushing down with some absolute beast-level, overwhelming brutal force. The knight promises a super dark ending, while the swordsman strains hard against the blade. But then, a quick memory flashes through the swordsman's mind. He remembers a fatal flaw in the armor design. A weak spot on the neck. Faster than a blink, he pivots, ready to flip the script entirely. Ducking under the huge strike, he lets the knight's own momentum deflect the attack. His eyes narrow with lethal intent as the perfect opening appears. Boom, the sword nails the vulnerable gap with a sickening crunch. The mystery swordsman yells for the kid to grab a weapon and fight. Channeling 20 years of battlefield experience, he proves all that training was not for nothing. Knight's blood splatters right across his sword. He towers over the fallen soldier, an absolute blur of lethal motion. Cold, focused eyes, a veteran killer totally in his element. Gavin is completely mind-blown, asking Isaac where on earth he learned such crazy moves. Watch closely now. Our hero just stares, having zero clue how to explain this. A hand suddenly reaches out, snapping him back to reality. It is Gavin, alive and smiling, and our hero feels insane relief. Gavin just assumes his buddy is shocked from the brutal fight. But his mind is racing, accepting the impossible truth. He has somehow traveled 20 whole years into the past. His last memory? The execution block, tied up by Silas's golden magic. He literally remembers the blade dropping to execute him. A hand on his shoulder breaks the dark memory. Gavin begs him to move, warning that their families are in danger, while past chaos erupts everywhere. Gavin watches in pure horror as his home gets wrecked. Our hero realizes he is back on the exact day his life's crusade started. He remembers the original timeline, the day his best friend died, and the day he lost his parents. A memory forever burned into his soul. Gavin's desperate scream snaps him back to the chaos. He has no idea how or why he was tossed back into this literal nightmare. But all that matters now is rewriting this bloody history. Fueled by a second chance, he sprints straight into danger. He remembers being one of Gaul's most overpowered warriors. Now, he is stuck back in his teenage body, which is a massive downgrade. A time before his powers awoke, before he even saw the academy. Right now, he is just a farm boy relying on nothing but his sharp wits and memories. Golden energy slams the ground with devastating force. But our hero's eyes are sharp, his instincts completely tuned from long years of war. He shoves Gavin to safety as the street violently explodes. Pushing his friend aside, he steps directly between Gavin and the massive danger. I know what you are thinking. Peeking from hiding, he realizes they are up against a seriously overpowered noble. This is Sebel, the Count's son, basically radiating pure destructive energy. A couple of villagers are begging for their home, the only thing they own in this world. But Sebel is clearly enjoying their utter despair. He offers a super simple and terrifying choice about their home. If they won't hand it over, he will just burn them alive inside of it. What a great guy. With a brutal kick, Sebel knocks the helpless couple right into the roaring flames. Our hero recognizes this guy, remembering how he massacred that exact family in the original timeline. But he is totally powerless. A veteran warrior's mind trapped in a weak body, thinking incredibly fast. Isaac tells Gavin they need to escape to his house across the roofs. The two boys sprint like crazy over the tiles, completely desperate to stay out of sight. But their escape route gets blocked by a patrol of the Count's soldiers. With growing horror, he realizes they have already reached his house. Gavin completely panics, insisting they need to find help instead of diving in head first. But Isaac's eyes, totally cold and calculating. His brain is already forming a master plan. He assesses the threat. Just basic foot soldiers, not magic-using nobles. He might have lost his crazy powers. But those 20 years of brutal battlefield memories are still wide awake. Without hesitating for a single second, he lands on the roof of his childhood home. He spots his entry point, a top-floor window. Isaac shatters right through the glass, making an incredibly dramatic entrance. His eyes lock onto the scene inside. A soldier is holding his mother down. He quickly counts the hostiles while one of them is literally choking the life out of his mom. His dad rushes in, desperately trying to free his wife from the soldier's grip. A third guard turns around, completely shocked by the kid who just crashed through the window. Isaac unleashes a massive kick, stunning the soldier who ordered them to take him out. Apparently, peasants are not supposed to fight back. He grabs the absolute closest weapon he can find, a basic kitchen knife. The soldier actually mocks him, daring the farm boy to even try attacking. But Isaac's blade finds the gap in the armor with dead-on, veteran precision. 1 down, 2 left. His face looks like a cold-blooded assassin, definitely not a child. The remaining soldiers just stare, totally stunned. Guess they are not used to their prey fighting back. Wasting zero time, Isaac launches at the next target, a total blur of motion. The soldier draws his sword, getting ready to block the kid's rush. The kitchen knife hits solid steel, proving his insane skill, but his instincts suddenly scream about a back attack. We are stopping here. Are you ready for next time? You guys gotta see this wild regression story. The third soldier rushes in, thinking our boy is totally cornered between 2 blades. Isaac is caught in a deadly standoff. But thinking fast, he literally uses the soldier's own body as a stepping stone to launch himself straight up. He flies into the air, completely dodging their strikes and letting the 2 guards clash. Unable to stop his momentum, the guy in the back accidentally slices his own teammate down. Landing right behind the last standing guard, he presses a kitchen knife straight to his throat. A totally cold smile crosses Isaac's face as he tells the guy today is his lucky day. After dying in his past life, he never even dreamed he'd see his family alive and safe again. And with one clean slash, he permanently ends the threat. The second soldier finally drops to the dirt, an absolute victim of his own team's massive incompetence. His family screams his name, completely shocked but instantly relieved. He hugs them tight, totally overwhelmed by a reunion he has literally waited 20 years for. Isaac's dad is understandably super confused about where his kid learned to fight like a hardcore assassin. Isaac totally dodges the question, because how do you explain time travel? Yeah, that is definitely a rough conversation to have mid-massacre. He takes charge immediately, telling his family their only real shot at surviving is booking it to the forest. Now pay attention here, because a massive clue from his past life suddenly hits him. He remembers the only ones who actually survived the original attack were the people who ran into the woods. Spotting Gavin, he quickly tells his best friend to tag along for safety. He confidently assures Gavin that his parents are definitely already safe, since their house sits right on the absolute edge of the forest. But then a super dark memory flashes back. Gavin's parents lived, but Gavin didn't. Isaac makes a quiet, unbreakable promise that his bro is making it home this time. The small crew sprints straight for the tree line, leaving the burning chaos of their village totally behind them. Isaac's eyes are just absolutely burning with pure determination. He got a second chance at life, and he refuses to waste it. They finally reach a small survivor camp, catching one tiny moment of peace inside the madness. Isaac tells his family to hang tight while he scouts ahead. Gavin is super confused by his buddy's weirdly confident leadership, but suddenly, the other survivors start feeling super weak. His vision blurs as the adrenaline completely wears off, and Isaac's weak teenage body just can't take another single step. He collapses, totally passing out. The absolute horrors of the day finally catch up, and his mind flashes straight back to the execution block of his past life. He remembers his old comrades, tied up and completely helpless just like him, and Silas's cruel final words, straight up calling him a useless pawn. The guillotine blade drops, a brutal, permanent end to his first life. Silas's cold voice keeps echoing nonstop inside his head. A nasty goodbye to his oldest friend. But suddenly, Gavin's desperate screaming rips him right back to the present. He wakes up groggy, with soft morning sunlight filtering through the forest canopy. He sits up with that past life nightmare, still burning fresh, finally confirming the absolute impossible. He really got sent 20 whole years back in time, but this round, he's got veteran warrior knowledge and a totally blank future to rewrite. He swears he will win. But first things first, he desperately needs to get his powers back. Minor detail, right? Suddenly, his eyes snap wide open. A sharp noise shatters his focus. He screams out a warning to the group. The Count's guards actually track them down. Isaac's eyes narrow with this incredibly dark, absolute certainty. The hunt is clearly far from over. He steps up, only to find his buddy Gavin collapsed on his knees in the dirt. He calls his name, leaving a heavy question hanging in the air. His dad drops the brutal truth. The soldiers actually got to Gavin's parents. Isaac's mind starts spinning out of control, totally refusing to accept this horrible new reality. You and I both know they survived in his first life. His dad tries comforting him, gently suggesting they just give Gavin some space alone. But Isaac just stands there, totally frozen, watching his friend's heartbreak. It is a blinding reminder of his own failure. The timeline is straight up breaking. His memories aren't a cheat code anymore. He frantically demands to know why they didn't just escape, especially since their house was basically touching the safe zone. His dad explains everything, his face super grim. Turns out Count Sebalt's son found his dead soldiers and went into an absolute, uncontrollable raging fury. And it hits Isaac like a massive ton of bricks. This entire mess is his fault. By stepping in to save his own parents, he accidentally signed a literal death warrant for Gavin's mom and dad. He violently stomps the ground, completely crushed by guilt. The peaceful forest canopy practically mocks his mental breakdown. He glares up at the sky, yelling at whatever cosmic god actually sent him back. He is seriously wondering if this second life is a blessing or just a sicker punishment. But his dad's firm hand on his shoulder pulls him right out of that dark, desperate spiral. He reminds Isaac that the real villains here are the Rabel family, the ones who actually caused this tragedy. His dad's words are super healing, telling Isaac he is incredibly proud of him for saving Gavin. That praise cuts through his despair, reminding him he can't just sit around crying about fate. He clenches his fists, swearing to use his 20 years of bitter trauma to completely crush his enemies. He knows he has to exploit his one advantage, starting with leveling up his powers again. Because right now, he can barely handle one random soldier. A fierce new vow lights up his eyes. This time around, he is protecting everyone. His thoughts immediately jump to Madeline, his little sister, a massive, painful reminder of his worst past failures. After their parents originally died, his blind obsession with revenge made him totally abandon her. She was dumped into the care of the village mayor. The guy running things, a dude who, at first glance, looks like a totally sweet, trustworthy old man. But Isaac only found out way later that this mayor was an absolute monster. He literally sold Madeline to the Count's men, keeping that cruel cycle spinning. Her screams for the big brother who never showed up went totally unanswered. And in the end, the heavy trauma of it all was just way too much for her. Trust me, we are so not letting that happen again. The memory fades, snapping Isaac back to reality. He makes an unbreakable vow to his sister's memory, and then he sees her, alive and perfectly safe, right in front of him. Let's dive in. He hugs her, swearing to never mess up again. But suddenly, pure panic shatters his relief like absolute ice. A desperate scream from a guy looking for his own sister completely ruins the sweet reunion. The kid explains his sister is now staying with the village mayor. Pure horror hits Isaac. By saving his own family, he totally doomed Gabin's. He grabs Gabin by the shoulders, frantically warning him that the mayor is absolute garbage and cannot be trusted. But Gabin is just confused, reminding him that the guy is their highly respected village leader. And speak of the devil, the mayor himself rolls up to see what all the fuss is about. Isaac's eyes go wide the second he spots the face of the man who literally ruined his sister's life. The mayor walks over, putting on a super fake show of caring for the crying kid. But Isaac sees right through the terrible acting, knowing this dirtbag is hiding his true, twisted nature. He offers some fake comfort, and clueless Gabin actually thanks him for being so kind. Isaac just turns away. There is zero point in arguing because nobody would ever believe him. Playing the exhausted card, Isaac excuses himself, saying he needs a minute to process everything. As the sun drops, the sky burns red from the day's crazy fires. Night blankets the forest, bringing this super heavy, tense silence. He flashes back to his first life, fleeing into the mountains after losing his family. Back then, it took weeks for his powers to awaken, and it was purely by dumb luck. But this time, he knows the cheat code. He can get his magic back in just 2 days. With a fresh plan, he sneaks right out of camp under pitch-black darkness. He notices the village is totally wrecked thanks to Sebald's massive temper tantrum. But before he can focus on leveling up his powers, he has a different rat to exterminate. Watch closely here. His eyes lock onto his target, the traitor mayor's house, arriving right on cue. To hear a completely desperate scream for help from inside. Gabin's sister is cornered, totally trapped by 2 of the mayor's vicious attack dogs. The beasts are growling, eyes flashing with pure evil, just waiting for the attack command. All she can do is beg for her life. Her hope completely drains away by the second. Then the mayor grabs her, his words dripping with totally disgusting intentions. He laughs, telling her nobody is coming to save the day, finally showing his actual monster face. But boom, a new voice cuts through the dark, calling him absolute trash. The mayor spins around, absolutely furious that someone ruined his fun. And there stands Isaac, rocking a look that basically promises a world of pain for this two-faced traitor. The mayor just scoffs, threatening the kid who clearly has zero clue who he is messing with just one single command. He unleashes his rabid hounds. Isaac's eyes go wide with sudden panic. Right now, he is literally just a normal teenager facing off against two deadly beasts. He jumps back, knowing he needs to lure those dogs away from Gaben's sister. He pivots hard. His moves are crazy smooth and trained, even inside a much weaker body. Those hardcore battlefield instincts kick in as he barely dodges the first strike. Thinking fast, he pulls a tactical retreat, slamming a solid door right behind him. But the mayor just smirks, completely unbothered by the kid's desperate attempt to escape. He grabs a nearby axe, gearing up to drop a classic villain monologue. He totally confesses to setting up the death of Isaac's parents just to get his hands on the sister. Now he is laughing, deciding he will just have to kill Isaac himself. But Isaac just smirks, asking if the bad guy is finally done with his little speech. He exposes the entire conspiracy, dropping the fact that he knows about the Count Rabel deal. The mayor is totally stunned, demanding to know who leaked his secret intel. Isaac's answer is super simple and absolutely terrifying. You saw this coming, right? The mayor told him in another life. He explains he already killed him once after this exact same confession, and with a totally chilling smile, he admits he cannot wait for an encore performance. Talking time is over. Isaac launches forward with blinding speed. The mayor swings his axe, proving he is actually pretty fast, but against a guy with 20 years of brutal combat experience. His attacks are ridiculously easy to read. Isaac slips right past his guard, blade ready to finish this guy off once and for all. Isaac's blade slashes deep, drawing first blood in this deadly dance. The mayor just stares in pure shock, completely unable to process the kid's insane skills. He brushes off the hit as pure luck and brings his axe down with major rage. But Isaac casually dodges the heavy swing, firing back with a heavy body check. He pushes his advantage. His knife is a blur of deadly intent. The mayor is gasping, demanding to know where a random farm kid learned those moves. Isaac coldly tells him his only worry should be the super painful ending that is coming. He jumps into the air, ready to end the fight with one epic flying kick, but the mayor pulls his trump card. He is a magic user, because of course he is. A massive wave of golden energy explodes, blasting Isaac entirely across the room. Isaac grits his teeth, his brain totally spinning from that surprise magic attack. He slams hard into the wall, realizing with growing panic that this crazy mayor actually controls electricity. He thinks back to his first life. Taking this dude out was a total joke once his own powers awakened. The mayor mocks him, bragging that the Count's promises went way beyond some basic title. He received the ultimate gift. The Count literally helped him awaken his very own magic skills. This is a harsh reminder about nobles, the tyrants who bleed the common people dry. Their whole oppressive system is built on absolutely insane inherited magic power. By channeling raw electricity, these guys can move at blinding speeds and throw up unbreakable barriers. They can weave complex spells, sigils glowing with wild, raw energy, and when they get ruthless, they can instantly turn their enemies to ash with a simple flick of the wrist. Makes you think, doesn't it? The official story is this power was a gift from the gods. Let's jump into this wild setup. Nobles supposedly protect humanity from demon hordes, but Isaac knows that is straight-up propaganda for the masses. The truth is way simpler. Anyone gets this crazy lightning power by popping special pills, a secret drug totally monopolized by the elite. Electricity surges through the mayor as he realizes the Count's promise was legit. He is already dreaming of ditching this town for high society. But Isaac just smirks, calling him a completely disposable pawn. Absolutely furious, the mayor fires off another blast, sick of the disrespect. But Isaac sees right through it. This guy is a total rookie, barely controlling his new skills. Isaac knows he can easily wipe this amateur, but without powers, one touch means he gets deep fried. He casually dodges another wild blast. His brain is working in overdrive, hunting for an opening in these sloppy attacks. And then, boom, a spark of genius in the corner. A simple spool of copper wire. The absolute perfect conductor for his opponent's totally out-of-control magic. The councilman roars, swearing the kid has nowhere left to run. Plan locked in, Isaac grabs the spool to completely flip the script. He knows it is a massive gamble, a totally desperate play with exactly one shot. He ties off one end, setting piece number 1. He sprints across the room, unspooling wire as the guy closes in. The other end gets anchored to a metal sword, building a deadly circuit. He loops the wire around a brass doorknob, locking the absolute final piece into place. The setup connects right to a heavy iron chandelier above. Trap fully armed, Isaac just needs this guy to take his best shot. Now pay attention here. The plan is brilliant. He flashes a cocky smirk, taunting the guy, asking how he is a noble if he misses a peasant. The dude roars in pure rage, falling right into the most classic villain bait ever. He unleashes a massive, totally wild wave of golden lightning. So done with these games. Isaac narrows his eyes. This is the exact second he wanted. He chucks the copper spool right into the oncoming blast. Raw energy slams into the copper, turning Isaac's makeshift trap into a completely live wire. A spark of pure victory hits Isaac's eyes. His crazy gamble worked perfectly. One final calculated kick sends the spool flying into position. The councilman is caught completely off guard as the wire surges with his own redirected juice. The copper net tightly wraps right around him. Becoming the main conductor of his own epic downfall, he stumbles hard. Completely outplayed by the peasant he just mocked, Isaac reveals the truth. Every dodge was literally just him weaving a web for his enemy. Pure horror twists the guy's face. He got played from the start. Isaac calls game over as the trap turns the guy's power against him. The villain gets violently blasted backward, completely locked inside his very own crackling electric prison. His screams die out, totally fried by the very magic he flexed so hard. The councilman drops into the rubble, begging to know how he lost. Isaac turns around, looking honestly a little annoyed that this guy is somehow still breathing. He even admits he is shocked the dude survived a self-inflicted electrocution that massive. Grabbing his knife, Isaac casually approaches. The guy's tough act instantly melts into desperate begging. He offers Isaac a sweet spot with the nobles as a massive reward. But Isaac's eyes are ice cold. He demands to know how he dares to beg for mercy after what he did to his sister. We both felt that tension, right? But the dude is confused, swearing he never touched Madeline, at least in this specific timeline. Isaac just towers over the sniveling coward, his patience absolutely at zero. The dark ghost of his future self suddenly materializes right behind him. A promise of cold vengeance. He makes it clear, across every life, this ends the same. One brutal slash and Isaac keeps his promise. The councilman's little reign of terror permanently ends in a pool of blood. Big threat totally neutralized. Isaac turns to Gavin's sister, telling her to run, but quickly realizes the poor girl has totally passed out from the absolute shock. He pauses for a second, the heavy weight of his brutal actions settling into the dead, silent room. Scooping her up, he promises to bring her back to Gavin, but he kicks the door open and instantly meets two massive, angry guard dogs. They are definitely not thrilled about their owner getting wiped out. But Isaac's eyes are completely locked in with dark, grim determination. He is absolutely not failing now. And suddenly, those fierce hounds look like they just stared directly into the eyes of a demon. Guess they just needed a quick change in management to behave. Meanwhile, back at the survivor camp, Gavin is sitting there completely crushed, waiting for his boy to return. A sudden noise at the door breaks the misery. He jumps up, shouting his sister's name as Isaac casually strolls in. Gavin hugs her tight, demanding answers, but Isaac's cold stare says everything. Isaac drops the heavy truth. The councilman was actually a traitor. Gavin totally panics, but Isaac calmly assures him the problem is permanently handled. He looks at everyone, announcing he has a solo mission to finish. Eyes burning with crazy resolve, he swears he will definitely come back. His super-secret plan is officially in motion. Stepping up, Isaac's dad drops a heavy hand on his shoulder. His voice swelling with pride, he declares Count Rabel's tyranny ends now. And trust me, you and I are definitely going to want to see this. All right, stick with me here. He grabs his dad's arm, a silent promise between them. Isaac swears he won't let his family down this time. His dad's smile is all the push he needs. A simple, super powerful "I am proud of you." With his family safe for now, Isaac kicks off his solo mission and heads for the mountains. Nothing screams secret mission quite like a dramatic mountain hike, right? His target is the peak, the place holding the key to his lost power, remembering his first life. How he ran to these exact mountains after losing absolutely everything. He remembers wandering for weeks, totally lost in a blur of pain and revenge. He had collapsed right on this mountain, taking cover under an old, beat-up tree. And that was the exact moment his entire life changed forever. A bolt of pure, raw energy smashed down from the heavens. Yeah, getting struck by lightning usually equals game over, but now he knows the secret. This tree is literally a natural lightning rod. He feels the storm rolling in, the air sparking with that familiar energy. This time, he is not leaving it to luck. He will force his own awakening. He knows noble power is not some divine gift, it is a stolen birthright. Every human has the potential to wield this power, they just need a tiny spark. He knows the secret. A specific part of the brain can be triggered to control electricity. To master this power, the nobles made special pills to force an awakening. This guaranteed a steady lineup of overpowered users to keep their absolute grip on the kingdom. But Isaac knows those pills were just a cheap shortcut. The original, ancient method was way more hardcore, taking a direct hit from a lightning bolt. This natural awakening unlocks insane power, but it comes with a huge risk, one that usually leaves you as a totally crispy corpse. That is why the nobles invented a safer way. He remembers his first life, where a random strike gave him powers by total luck. Watch closely here. A nearby strike confirms the storm is ready. He closes his eyes, waiting for the exact bolt that will change his destiny. Isaac locks his eyes on the sky as the perfect strike forms. A massive fork of golden energy tears through the clouds, heading straight for him. He screams at the storm, ready to claim his revenge power. But the lightning hits the ground next to him, completely missing its target. Isaac can only curse his terrible luck. His one absolutely perfect shot turned into a total dud. He knows he won't get another shot like this. The storm is already moving away. Its center now floats right over a terrifyingly deep abyss. Thinking fast, he ties a rope to the tree, prepping for a desperate jump. With zero options left, he launches into thin air, literally chasing the storm itself. He puts his faith into one single knot, praying it is strong enough to carry him to his destiny. He screams at the sky, wondering if this is just some sick test of his willpower. He roars that absolutely nothing will stop his revenge. With one massive, explosive jump, he launches off the cliff edge. He swings over the massive abyss, just a tiny figure against the dark, raging sky. And this time, the heavens actually answer, blasting him with pure, unbelievable power. His eyes flare up with golden light as wild energy rips through his entire being. He pushes through the absolute agony, his body becoming a literal vessel for the storm. And as that insane power finally settles down, the exact same scar from his past life starts carving itself right back onto his face. The rope that carried him to his destiny smokes away, having served its purpose perfectly. A split second later, a massive crimson explosion erupts, signaling an incredibly successful and super dramatic awakening. He stands up from the scorched earth. His body is now a living weapon holding the storm's fury. His mind is totally consumed by one single, burning thought: absolute revenge. He roars his promise to the sky that this time, he will win. Isaac stands right at the cliff edge, feeling that familiar, deadly spark of power crackling in his hand. He thinks back to his first life, where waking up his magic was just step one. It literally took him years of crazy hard training to reach true mastery. You and I both know how it goes, but this time he's no clumsy rookie. He has 20 years of experience to skip the tutorial and rush the boss. The actual mountain side cracks wide open, totally unable to handle his explosive return. He clenches his fist, knowing his brutal quest for payback is just getting started. Isaac tests out his raw new power, easily shattering the very ground beneath his feet. He flashes a cocky grin. totally satisfied with the first results of his massive power-up. But hey, raw, destructive strength is only just one half of the equation here. Now it is time to test out his speed. He channels pure lightning right through his body, getting ready for a massive burst. In a flash, he blasts down the mountainside like a living streak of crimson lightning. He clocks his own speed at 100 meters per second, which he somehow thinks is just barely acceptable. With the basics checked off, he tries summoning his ultimate weapon, his avatar. He focuses all his energy. His eyes glow as he calls out to his spectral beast, and from the sky drops a tiny little lizard of crackling energy. Okay, yeah, that is definitely super disappointing. He sighs, realizing his teenage body just cannot handle his full power yet. He remembers that avatars are the absolute peak of magic, a literal manifestation of the user's soul. A single warrior with this crazy ability can wipe out entire armies without even breaking a sweat. Isaac knows he still has a massively long way to go, but hey, he found the perfect, quiet spot to grind his levels. But his peaceful training session instantly gets crashed by a super familiar voice calling his name. Startled, he turns around and finds out his sister, Madeline, completely tracked him into the mountains. She demands answers, saying his weird behavior made her totally suspicious. She wants to know exactly how he suddenly got so ridiculously overpowered. Isaac realizes he cannot smooth-talk his way out. He sighs, revealing the impossible truth. So, what do you and I think happens next? All right, stick with me here. He takes a deep breath, ready to completely shatter his sister's reality. And then he just drops it. He's a time traveler from the future, totally casual. Madeline's first reaction. She punches him right in the arm, asking if he's seriously joking around at a time like this. Isaac sighs. Yeah, saying I am from the future sounds pretty insane out loud. But to his absolute surprise, she completely believes him. She's hyped her brother is finally an awakened. Her brain immediately jumps to all the perks, getting into the academy, striking it rich, and totally wrecking the snobby nobles. Isaac has to gently bring his sister back down to earth before she starts planning their early retirement. He swears to protect her with his life, but insists his new powers have to stay a total secret for now. He tries explaining the massive danger they are in, but she cuts him off. With a super warm smile, she tells him she trusts him 100%. After all, he already saved them. Then she casually points at his face, asking if that crazy jagged mark is going to be permanent. Isaac instantly panics, realizing with pure horror that the lightning strike left the exact same scar from his past life. And just like that, under the silent watch of the mountain peaks, his hardcore training begins. He's got 20 years of experience, but a body that seriously needs to catch up. He focuses, channeling the raw power now rushing through his veins. And with his surprisingly hyped sister playing coach, the real grind finally kicks off. She chucks a massive barrage of rocks at him, a simple but super effective reflex test. Now watch closely. His job is to track and dodge every single one. His eyes narrow, and those elite battlefield instincts kick into absolute overdrive. He moves like an absolute blur. His body, wrapped entirely in crimson lightning, is getting way faster, but total perfection is still just out of reach. Madeline notices his insane progress is totally unnatural, almost like he's done this his whole life. If only she knew. Eventually, she begs for a break. But Isaac is perfectly locked in. He's not stopping until he absolutely nails every target. She whines about being stuck out there for hours while the crazy drill keeps going. He flashes forward in a streak of crimson light, destroying every single projectile with pinpoint accuracy. Flashing a confident smirk, he calls the task done and instantly bumps up the difficulty. He thinks back to his early despair, believing this whole second chance was cruel punishment. But this brutal week of training with his sister changed everything. Just seeing her alive and smiling has given him a massive, powerful new sense of purpose. These quiet, peaceful moments are a huge contrast to his lonely first life. And by the end of every single day, he realizes this whole time travel thing might actually be a gift. After all, he reflects that coming back is easily the greatest thing to happen to him in 20 years. A reunion with Silas is guaranteed, but first, he has another score to settle. His mind immediately shifts to the Rabel family, the exact people responsible for all his suffering. In his first life, he could never get real justice for his family. His military rank and grand plan to destroy the system from inside totally held him back. You and I both know that old plan was a joke. Now, no politics, no waiting around, just pure, unadulterated power. He forges a blade of pure energy, a deadly promise of the revenge coming their way. The mountain literally shakes as he unleashes a massive wave of destructive force. He makes a brand new vow, zero holding back this time. Target number 1, the Rabel Castle, the beating heart of his enemy's domain. He scales the fortress walls wrapped in flashing crimson energy, moving exactly like a ghost. He sticks the landing without making a single sound. The castle is heavily guarded, but they don't even see him coming. To a guy moving like living lightning, those guards might as well be perfectly frozen in time. Inside, the castle staff is scrambling to prep dinner. The head chef is literally screaming at his crew, terrified of making those stuck-up nobles wait even a second. Isaac watches quietly from the shadows. Dinner time is the absolute perfect opening, and a squad of board guards is about to hand him exactly what he wants. They are complaining about the mayor's broken promise to bring them young women, but one guy suddenly interrupts with some massive breaking news. The mayor is dead. The guys are totally shocked, but their only real concern is their twisted little prize. From up above, Isaac confirms these are the exact scumbags who plan to hurt his sister and Han. His eyes instantly flare up with ice-cold fury. He's about to introduce them to his heavy stone friend. A flash of crimson energy slices right through the night, perfectly silent and incredibly deadly. The massive gargoyle he was perched on comes alive, fueled by his pure rage. It rockets into the first guard with the brutal force of a battering ram. The survivors can only stare in sheer horror, blaming the whole attack on a loose statue, while they check on their dead buddy. They have zero clue the real monster is still watching them. The guards brush off the crazy incident, totally clueless about the real thing dropping today, their lifespans. But before they can even flinch, another guard gets instantly wiped out by a silent crimson silhouette. With the immediate threat fully neutralized, Isaac figures his path is clear. But he knows he can't just wander aimlessly through this crazy maze of castle towers. He channels his crimson lightning, ready to scale the entire tower in one massive leap. In a wild flash of pure energy, he blasts straight up the stone wall, leaving a blazing red trail. From way up high, he finally spots his target, the Count's personal quarters. Without hesitating for a second, he bounds across the rooftops toward his goal. He decides to carve his way downward, a brutal, systematic approach for his solo siege. He quickly tracks down a heavily guarded door, absolutely certain the Count is waiting right on the other side. Trust me, you're gonna want to see this. His hand crackles with crimson energy as he vows to make the Count pay. The guards don't even finish shouting before he attacks. Let's jump into this payback arc. He drops in like lightning, way too fast for them to track. With a single tap, he channels his power straight into the guard's weapon. The soldier just screams, completely overwhelmed by that raw, untamed energy. Isaac calmly swipes the guy's sword since he definitely won't need it anymore. He crashes the party, loudly announcing his arrival to the Count and his kid. His eyes are burning with cold fury as he tells the noble his butcher's bill is finally due. It's time to pay up, but Count Rabel just glances over, looking way more bored than threatened. Sebald smugly sips his drink, acting like he was expecting company this whole time. Sebald laughs arrogantly. He totally predicted the councilman's killer would come knocking at their door. But the Count doubts a mere peasant could actually take down his magical pawn. He figures Isaac just stole the councilman's awakening pills instead. Sebald cracks a nasty joke, asking if those pills actually work as advertised. Isaac's patience is running thin as the noble's insults get even more disgusting. The whole family starts cracking up, openly showing their absolute disgust for commoners. To them, he's nothing but a bug waiting to be squashed. But Isaac isn't playing games, confirming he totally flatlined their traitorous pawn. Sebald just smirks with total arrogance. Apparently, betrayal is basically a family sport here. The Count yawns, admitting his kid understands peasant mentality way better. The Count keeps rambling, mocking the supposed brutality of regular folks. Now watch this part closely. His boring monologue gets cut off by a crimson flash on the table. Isaac asks the Count if he's familiar with a pretty nasty nickname. He drops the bomb that the capital's high nobles literally call him a pot-bellied pig. Isaac remembers from his past life how the elite loved roasting provincial lords. The Count's eyes flare with absolute rage, his massive ego bruised by a simple peasant's words. Isaac then drags the Countess into it, calling them a couple of pigs. Guess even tyrants get bullied. The Countess is absolutely furious. Her magic flares up, and she unleashes a massive blast of golden energy, promising to roast him alive. But when the smoke finally clears, Isaac is standing there, completely unharmed. Isaac smirks back, taunts her with another insult, and asks if that's seriously all she's got. The Countess is stunned. Her brain literally cannot compute that he took 0 damage. She decides to up the ante, getting ready to drop her full magical power, but Isaac is already one step ahead. His hand flashes with crimson lightning. Her eyes go wide as she realizes something is horribly wrong with her own magic. The Count immediately spots her fatal, amateur mistake. She's a total rookie who basically skipped the safety tutorials. He can only scream his wife's name, completely powerless to stop what's coming right at them. Isaac knows it only takes one single spark to turn her power into a bomb. With a quick flick of his wrist, he detonates that unstable energy into a massive explosion. The Count watches in pure horror as his wife gets swallowed by her own magic. Sebald screams out in terror. Screaming his mom's name in desperate rage, he stares at her fallen body, demanding to know what Isaac did. But Isaac has already slipped right behind the Count, promising a very quick family reunion. Furious, Sebald fires his own golden beam, refusing to let a peasant win. But Isaac takes the hit head-on, his crimson aura clashing hard against the noble's gold. Suddenly, his combat instincts scream danger. The Count is attacking from behind. He dodges just in time as 2 massive energy blasts violently collide right where he was standing. The Count taunts him, totally unimpressed by the kid's desperate dodging. He slowly walks up, lecturing Isaac on how stupid it is to challenge his superiors. The Count gathers his own power, getting ready to personally crush this little peasant uprising. The Count promises to completely wipe out Isaac's village as his aura starts burning, but Isaac just gives him a mocking smile, ready to tell these little pigs a story. He declares the wolf is at the door to collect. We both knew this was coming, right? Sebald screams for his mom, charging in a blind rage. But for a guy with 20 years of combat experience, that attack is ridiculously slow. He dodges the strike effortlessly, finding this whole scene pretty pathetic. He knows their fake pill-induced magic is 0 match for his naturally awakened power. But a purple energy beam slices through the air, reminding him this is a 2-on-1 fight. He quickly realizes that taking on both father and son at the exact same time might actually be a challenge. The Count is a veteran, perfectly syncing attacks to catch him off guard. The Count yells at his kid to strike while Isaac is distracted. He lunges forward, magic primed and ready to crush the boy right from behind. But Isaac holds his ground, fully ready to take them both on. His eyes burn with intense power, his focus absolutely locked in. He blocks both attacks at once, becoming a living shield against their combined force. With one decisive strike, he declares checkmate to the stunned Count. Then he turns to Sebald, gripping him like an iron vice. He totally mocks their claim of divine right, his hand sparking with lethal intent. With one final, brutal blast, he decides it's time to wash away their sins. The Count screams in horror as the crimson storm swallows his son. The Count roars in pure fury. His own purple magic flares to life, and he unleashes a massive wave of energy, trying to completely annihilate the kid. But when the dust finally settles, Isaac is completely unharmed. The Count demands to know what kind of monster invaded his home. Isaac's answer sends a terrifying chill straight down the noble's spine. He's just a peasant, a nobody who suffered under the Count's cruelty his entire life, and he's finally decided enough is enough. The Count's eyes widen as he finally realizes Isaac's insane power comes from a natural awakening. Trust me, you and I just watched a simple peasant boy take absolutely everything from him. Stick with me, watch Isaac smirk, and tell this roaring Count he just took out the trash. The nobles will absolutely hate this. The guy insists killing him is a guaranteed death sentence for our boy. But Isaac, cold eyes, completely unfazed by the threat. The Count points at his chest pendant, his big symbol of noble authority. Isaac just laughs and rips the cheap trinket off. Now the Count is crawling on the floor, screaming that a filthy peasant cannot touch noble blood. He keeps spitting desperate threats, swearing the high nobles will hunt him down. Isaac just checks out the pendant totally relaxed. His own crimson power glows in the gem, a sign of a brand new order. This time, he is the one hunting. With one final brutal slash, Isaac completely ends the reign of terror. The Rabel family is gone, and this castle has a very angry new owner. But his job is not done yet. He starts hunting for the real castle treasure. He is focused on one single prize, a super rare mineral called arcanite that nobles use to seriously boost their electric powers. He remembers the Count bragging about his lands being packed with the stuff. Surely the greedy pig hoarded a massive stash, right? He quickly tracks down the room and spots a highly suspicious-looking treasure chest. Skipping the need for a key, he just blasts the lock with magic, but inside, just one lonely chunk of rock. Talk about a massive letdown. Isaac curses the terrible hoarding skills of that dead Count. He expected enough arcanite to forge a weapon, but this tiny sliver will not cut it. Still, with the nobles gone, his village gets peace. It will take time for the nobles to send a replacement, especially with the chaos he is planning. The capital will have way bigger problems. This means his family stays perfectly safe while he enrolls in the academy. Honestly, a super solid plan for the long term. He cannot wait to see their faces when he drops the awakened news. His mind drifts back to his first life for a second. Back then, he stumbled down the mountain, thinking he just caught a bad shock. He barely made it to the village before collapsing into a totally dizzy mess. They were screaming his name, super worried, while he tried to brush it off. Right then, he unleashed his very first wild spark of magic. The whole village went crazy, hyping him as their new protector. He was their only hope, a noble from their own ranks to stop the tyranny. Back in the present, he smiles. But his smile drops. The village is dead silent. I know what you are thinking. Did another brutal attack just happen here? He blasts forward in a flash of crimson energy. No time for a cool, casual entrance. Bursting into his house, he screams for his sister and his friend, heart completely pounding. He hits the town square. Creepily quiet, zero signs of a fight. Then, boom, the silence breaks with a massive surprise party. Isaac is totally stunned as the entire village erupts into loud cheers. They crowd him, claiming their hero. His mom beams with pure pride, begging for a showcase of his cool new skills. Isaac shoots a deadly glare at his sister. This was supposed to be a massive secret. Madeline shyly admits she only told a couple of people, plus the entire village. The local kids gather around wide-eyed. They beg for a divine power reveal. Isaac tries to gently let them down, honestly. But the crowd hype is way too strong. Even the adults start begging for one tiny spark. With a heavy sigh, our guy caves and agrees to do a few party tricks. Crimson lightning crackles right in his palm. He shapes that dangerous raw power into a cool galloping horse. Watch closely here. The cheering gets cut completely short by heavy footsteps. A deep voice calls out, and Isaac turns to face an unexpected threat. A massive warrior draped in wolf fur steps up, identifying Isaac as the newly awakened guy. His eyes are ice cold. He knows exactly who is strong enough to kill the local mayor. Isaac recognizes him instantly. It is Rashak, the notorious leader of the infamous Silver Wolves. Well, so much for keeping a low profile. Rashak reveals the mayor used to be a silver wolf. That definitely complicates things today. Rashak actually agrees with that, straight up admitting his old comrade was absolute trash. But a code is a code. He is totally honor-bound to get his revenge anyway. But Isaac locks eyes on the gem embedded in the sword hilt. He instantly recognizes the super rare arcanite he needed. Rashak smirks and punches the gem, completely activating its power. The blade erupts with blazing energy. He drops a formal challenge for a death match. The villagers panic, but Isaac refuses to back down from this guy. Ignoring Gab's frantic protests, he grabs a pitchfork. Trust me, we are about to see how being awakened changes these rules completely. All right, stick with me here. Isaac stares down that arcanite blade and accepts the challenge without flinching. He tries moving this epic showdown somewhere safer. But Rishak has other immediate plans. The Silver Wolf leader doesn't waste a single second. He unleashes an absolutely devastating first strike. Isaac deflects the blow, suddenly realizing this guy is totally using the massive crowd as a human shield. He screams at the villagers to back up. His worry for them totally wrecks his focus. He is completely forced to fight on the defensive, unable to drop his full destructive power. Rishak openly mocks his hesitation, fully knowing our boy is terrified of frying his very own people. Isaac quickly figures out this isn't Rishak's first rodeo. The dude definitely knows exactly how to go toe-to-toe against an awakened fighter. He plants his feet hard, slamming his pitchfork into the dirt for leverage. With a lightning-fast spin, he preps to turn the tables on this guy. He knows dropping a massive area attack is way too risky with civilians around. But he can still channel that crazy raw power straight into the pitchfork, making it lethal. Rishak is genuinely impressed, praising the kid's raw skill as their weapons brutally clash. Isaac quickly ducks right under a super heavy swing. His movements are completely fluid and sharp. He knows without any magic, Rishak's attacks are basic and totally predictable to a trained eye. With a massive roar, Isaac goes full offense, totally ready to end this little duel. He launches the electrified pitchfork, turning a basic farm tool into a literal lightning missile. But Rishak just swats the blow away easily, completely unimpressed by the kid's very first real attack. Isaac's eyes instantly narrow dead on him. He knows this insane fight is far from over. It hits him that he can't use his max speed without putting all those innocent villagers in serious danger. Now watch this next move closely. A wild new plan drops to control his explosive power. He uses the pitchfork as an anchor, spinning with unbelievable control. Rishak is caught off guard, completely shocked by the kid's sudden tactical shift. Isaac unleashes an absolute powerhouse slash, forcing the Silver Wolf leader totally on the defensive. He sees a golden window, slamming the pitchfork into the dirt to create a crazy launch pad. With a super powerful leap, he aims a knockout blow right at his opponent's exposed back. But suddenly, Isaac's eyes shoot wide open in pure shock. Totally unbelievable as his attack just bounces off, doing absolutely zero damage. Rishak praises the kid's strength, but reveals he's got some sick tricks up his sleeve too. The literal wolf skin on his armor suddenly morphs into a living, breathing beast. Isaac's eyes go huge as he fully realizes exactly what he is looking at right now. It is a full set of arcanite armor, and the wearer holds a title, Rishak. The noble killer promises to show Isaac the true, terrifying power of this super rare ore. Striking his own chest hard, he triggers the armor's crazy hidden ability. The arcanite absorbs the impact, unleashing a massive surge of stored-up electricity. Then he flexes that he stole all this premium ore from none other than Count Rabel. He roars that once he completely destroys Isaac, he is going after the Count himself, bragging that Isaac will be the 6th lightning freak joining his epic victim list. Isaac totally feels the insane raw power radiating off his opponent's slick armor. Rishak starts moving at absolutely blinding speed. Unloading his sword strikes with explosive brute force, but Isaac's focus is totally split right now. The whole village is just watching from a distance. He knows he can't go all out without putting all those innocent lives at major risk. His family just watches in terror, dumping all their hopes onto their new protector. Rishak's skills with that arcanite armor are clearly on a whole other level. But wait, Isaac spots a huge weakness. You know exactly what he's thinking, right? Time to flip that stolen power against him. Here is a quick lore drop on Arcanite, the world's most valuable ore. Its unique traits let it hoard and wildly boost electrical energy. A dirty secret the nobles have abused for literal generations to buff their epic weapons and armor sets. But for anyone without the actual gift, this mineral is a ticking time bomb. If you accidentally overload its max capacity, it completely detonates with spectacular, totally non-user-friendly results. Isaac flashes a cocky smirk. Figuring out Rishak's fancy armor is probably running on some cheap dollar store battery logic. Rishak is wildly impressed, hyping up the kid for his super surprising tank-like endurance. He keeps attacking, openly admitting Isaac has already survived way longer than his other victims, while Rishak is busy monologuing about his own tragic backstory. Isaac's brain is already locked dead onto the winning solution. The Silver Wolf leader literally swore a blood vow to wipe every single noble off the face of the earth. And since Isaac is an awakened now, he is officially on that hit list. But Isaac has a sick plan. He plants his hand on the dirt to prep his counterattack. Rishak leaps in for the finishing blow, swearing Isaac won't be an exception to his wild crusade. He launches into the air, promising to slice him clean in half. But Isaac totally sees his window, knowing he has to go absolutely all out to nail it. Rishak laughs, super impressed Isaac is fighting way better than his past victims. He swings his blade down for the kill, but Isaac's timing has to be absolute perfection. He waits, his eyes locked dead onto that descending chunk of sharp metal, waiting for the perfect split second, and at the absolute last possible moment, he catches the warrior's wrist, dead, stopping the strike. Rishak just mocks the kid for blocking instead of dodging, thinking it is a completely fatal mistake, but Isaac is just getting started here, looking totally chill. Isaac flat out declares this fight is already over. His eyes blaze with a sick crimson light, flexing his real advantage, pure skill over brute force. He drops his MasterCard. He has been turbocharging that Arcanite with his own raw power. A direct injection of pure energy, way more than that armor was ever designed to actually handle. Rishak can only scream as that stolen power violently turns right back against him. He gets blasted backwards, completely consumed by the exact same energy he thought he could control. The overload detonates into an absolutely massive explosion, violently shaking the entire town square. When the smoke finally clears, the noble killer's legendary sword crashes down. Rishak is totally fried. And trust me, you and I are absolutely hyped to see what happens next. All right, stick with me here. The guy drops to his knees, his heavy armor basically a super expensive paperweight. Isaac just sighs, knowing that raw power takes years to master. His friends immediately rush over, yelling his name. Total mix of relief and panic. The villagers sprint to Isaac's side, clearly relieved. But Rishak, he just stares, his brain totally refusing to process this massive defeat. He demands to know how a random kid beat him. Isaac calmly explains he just flipped the warrior's own power against him. The noble assassin is stunned by how brutal and simple that tactic was. Accepting his fate, he asks Isaac for a proper warrior's death. Flashing a tired smile, he opens his arms for the final blow. But Isaac, he just closes his eyes and hits him with a hard no. Rishak's eyes go wide, total disbelief. Completely baffled by the rejection, he roars that Isaac cannot deny him an honorable death. Apparently, there are rules here. Isaac explains he is not a mercenary. He follows a totally different, nobler code. He calls it the Protector's Code, which he is obviously making up right on the spot. A code stating the loser becomes the winner's loyal vassal. Pointing at the stunned warrior, he lays out the surrender terms, declaring that Rishak, the legendary noble assassin, must serve him now. Rishak is shocked, wondering how this kid knows so much about him. Now watch this part closely. Isaac leans in and reveals their shared goal, a burning desire to watch all the corrupt nobility burn straight to the ground. Isaac adds that a guy with his skills would be a huge asset. Giving the warrior a firm pat on the chest, he drops his first official order. Protect this village. Isaac breaks down the plan. The Silver Wolves will guard his home while he heads off to the capital. He is heading there to prep a special welcome for the corrupt nobles. Seeing the same fiery revenge in his eyes, Reshak nods with deep respect. The legendary noble assassin accepts the mission. He makes a solemn vow, sealed with true warrior's honor. As long as he breathes, the village stays safe. But Isaac has one final, pretty bold request for his brand new vassal. He casually tells Reshak he is borrowing his legendary sword, to keep forever. He explains the arcanite gem in the hilt is exactly what he needs. Taking the rare mineral, Isaac forges a brand new weapon right in the flames. He explains the custom design perfectly channels his electric powers. Dude is basically inventing the next decade of military tech, giving himself an absolutely massive head start. With a quick wrap around the hilt, his epic new weapon is road ready. He sheathes the blade, a symbol of his coming revenge. With his home finally safe, Isaac gives his entire village a heartfelt goodbye. His sister, friends, and even his new vassal Reshak are there to send him off. His family waves their final goodbyes. Their faces glow with pride and hope. The whole community wishes him the best, placing all their faith right on his shoulders. He flashes them one last confident smile, promising to return soon. And with that, Isaac walks away, finally starting his solo mission. New sword strapped to his back, he faces the long road ahead, looking absolutely determined. The journey is just kicking off. His target is the academy, the exact place his first life's mission began. But this time, his powers are fully mastered. He is ready to meet his teammates, and that is where he will face his former brother. You and I both know who that is, the ultimate traitor, Silas Montfort. Next chapter. Our boy is cruising to the capital by sea. He is so hyped to reach Lutetia. In his head, he explains that once he finally hits the city, he will report to the authorities first. Newly awakened people get the right to enroll in the Imperial Academy right alongside noble kids. But he points out something crazy. Awakened people always think their new powers are God-given. That is because getting struck by lightning is traumatic, making them forget what actually happened. So naturally, everyone just assumes God personally chose them. While he is thinking about sneaking in some training, a girl suddenly crashes right into him. He instinctively tries to help her up, but plot twist, the girl is actually his sister. Shocked, he asks why she is here. Madeline says it is obvious, she is coming to the capital. He instantly rejects the idea. But his little sister is incredibly stubborn. She insists on tagging along, complaining about being stuck in their tiny village. Seeing his totally serious face calling this insane, she actually gets a little nervous. This makes her question his weird new attitude. Not to mention how he somehow mastered the sword and self-taught himself lightning magic. Finding the whole thing incredibly suspicious, she directly asks what he is hiding. Hearing this, our guy drops his usual go-to line, casually claiming he came from the future. He just sighs as his sister assumes he is making up lame excuses. She figures he fell and bumped his head, explaining his totally weird behavior. Our guy is left completely speechless. Still, he points out it is way too dangerous, adding that their parents would totally freak out. But like she was waiting for this. She smoothly pulls out a letter from their parents. He cannot believe she actually managed to convince them to let her travel to the city. So what do you and I make of this? Big trouble. Later in the dining hall, he quietly watches his sister eat. All right, guys, stick with me here. He thinks he can babysit her while pulling off his mission, but suddenly, soldiers barge in hunting a noble killer. They're offering a fat bounty, 10 gold pieces for any info on the guy who dropped Count Rabel. Madeline notices our boy tense up instantly. She's wondering if he's the culprit, but right before he can answer, a guard steps right up to them, aggressively demanding to know exactly why they're heading to the capital. Our guy plays it incredibly cool, calmly explaining they're just traveling, and then tosses in that they're newlyweds on their honeymoon. The soldier totally senses his nerves and is just about to grill him harder, when suddenly the whole ship starts shaking like crazy. The second they rush up to the deck, they spot the problem. It's a massive snake-like beast known as a rorqual. Just as the crew scrambles to fight back, the monster literally swats them away with one massive hit. Seeing this absolute carnage, the soldiers figure they are entirely doomed. Meanwhile, as our main character smoothly dodges the giant beast, he notes that rorquals only go berserk when a ship invades their turf. He knows he could easily scare it off using his lightning magic. But doing that would instantly make him the #1 suspect for Count Rabel's murder. Basically, he needs to fix this mess without blowing his cover at all. He takes a shot at one of the monster's known weak spots, but is totally shocked to find its skin is insanely thick. So, the rorqual casually launches him into the air while he scrambles for a backup plan. Meanwhile, those brave soldiers are already fleeing on a lifeboat. Our guy realizes if this keeps up, the ship is going straight to the bottom. So, he dives into the ocean, checking to make sure nobody can see him. Watch closely right here. This is the perfect chance to use his real power. As the sea beast lunges, he charges his lightning and strikes the rorqual's weak spot. The creature immediately backs off. Breaking the surface, our main character drops another wild fact about these giant rorquals. Since they are super proud beasts, they'll eventually look for someone to take their bruised egos out on. Sucks to be the escaping soldiers, because they just became the monster's brand new target. Meanwhile, our guy manages to climb back onto the ship completely unharmed. His little sister hugs him instantly, playfully calling him her husband. This girl is asking for trouble. She even jokes that this is one crazy way to kick off a honeymoon. Even so, the passengers celebrate him like a total hero, but he is just absolutely exhausted. He hasn't forgotten his main objective, though. Once he steps foot in that city, some seriously corrupt nobleheads are going to roll. Finally, we hit Lutetia, the majestic capital of Gala. As expected, his sister is bouncing off the walls with excitement while taking in the gorgeous views. In sharp contrast, our guy isn't hyped at all. After all, he practically spent his entire past life stuck in this exact same place. His little sister asks why he looks so dead inside, but in classic fashion, he gives zero explanation. After they finally step off the boat, our guy strolls calmly, while his sister acts like a total small-town tourist. He drops her at a fancy inn, telling her to book a room while he handles his own business. Madeline immediately stops him cold and demands some cash. He tosses her the gold coins those fleeing soldiers left behind. Seeing the heavy bag, she literally thinks they have enough money to buy the entire street. He just shakes his head in absolute silence. She seriously has no clue just how stupidly expensive everything is in this capital. Still, he waves her off, telling her to handle things and warning her not to go on a crazy spending spree. She promises to only buy the bare essentials, while he secretly wonders if leaving her alone is a huge mistake. Moving forward, he starts explaining how the magic registration actually works. I know what you're thinking, easy pass, right? Wrong. People like him are called the Chosen, but a massive crowd always shows up, falsely convinced they've awakened some crazy powers. One guy steps up and shows off some electric skills. Immediately, the guards watching the whole process step right in. Our main character explains that folks constantly try to cheat the system. This idiot used Arcanite stone too. Totally fake his power and gets beaten down for it. Our guy adds that passing this test usually comes with a fat cash reward. That's exactly why so many scammers try to fake it, grab the bag, and run. Finally, it's our boy's turn at the desk. The guard seriously hopes he isn't another clown like the last guy. He just casually responds by forming a badass skull out of red lightning. Freaked out, the guard instantly passes him and points him toward the inner halls. Our guy definitely expected to pass, but didn't think it'd be that incredibly easy. The guard notices that terrifying display completely scared the remaining candidates from even stepping up. Walking down the quiet corridor, he realizes that, completely unlike his messed-up past life, the examiners asked zero questions about his awakening. Suddenly, he freezes at the sound of a very familiar voice. Just from that dark look, we know exactly who it is. Silas walks right up, mentioning he dropped his admission paper, handing it back to him. Silas introduces himself super politely and notes our guy must be new around here. He gets total silence. Silas looks totally confused by the cold shoulder, having no idea our MC is clenching his fists so hard they're literally bleeding, desperately trying to cool off. Our guy mutters an apology, blaming it on feeling sick. Smiling, Silas brushes it off as just a totally normal side effect of power awakening. With that, he leaves, hoping they meet again, but our guy is raging at letting him walk. Suddenly, he straight up attacks Silas with his sword. Silas blocks instantly, and that's where we leave it. Trust me, you'll want to see this clash. Let's jump right into the madness. Just as they're about to throw down, an instructor crashes the party. He literally claps for their fighting spirit, laughing about how eager they are to flex those new powers. Octavio Grimaldi, the combat instructor, hits them with that classic line, "Nothing builds a solid friendship quite like clashing swords." After dropping his name, he tells the guys to chill, promising they'll get plenty of sparring time. But our main character, he remembers Grimaldi perfectly. This guy was a massive player in the Liberation Order. Yep, one of the exact dudes who murdered our boy in the future timeline. Meanwhile, Silas flashes his usual fake smile and apologizes to Professor Grimaldi, playing the innocent card by saying their newly awakened powers are super hard to control. Then he actually apologizes to our guy in case he somehow offended him, tossing out a totally fake "I hope to see you in class." If you think Isaac is acting dumb, well, he completely agrees with you. He realizes he messed up by letting his anger take the wheel and decides to ice out his emotions. If he loses his cool now, he blows his chance to permanently delete Silas. He also catches on that Silas is way stronger than he expected, which means he desperately needs a sneaky way to figure out what this snake is actually plotting during this whole stare-down. Someone else has been watching the entire show from the shadows. This mysterious lurker notes that both Isaac and Silas show some seriously insane potential, deciding their loyalty absolutely needs to be tested. Honestly, though, he doubts either kid is making it out alive. Fast forward to the Noble Academy. Today is finally the big first day of classes. Leading up to this moment, our boy spent every waking second grinding his personal training. Sure, he is not at his past life god tier level yet, but this is more than enough for now. Basically, he is miles ahead of anyone else at his current rank. Still, he has to play it super safe so nobody, especially Silas, sniffs out his true, ridiculous strength. The very next scene drops us straight into combat class. Unsurprisingly, Professor Grimaldi is hyped to be their main guy. After his little intro speech, he announces that real training only kicks off after he completely measures everyone's power levels. He smirks, noticing some hyped kids with decent warrior builds, while others, let's just say, are definitely not cut out for combat. Isaac instantly catches that shade and flashbacks to his past life. Back then, a brutal accident happened where a frail old man straight up died because his body could not handle a massive electric shock. This happens because every single year, dozens of newly awakened rookies flood straight into the academy to master their skills. But watch closely. You and I know nobles run a rigged, hidden system to keep new awakeners totally under control. Professor Grimaldi claps his hands and calls playtime over. And of course, the very first unlucky student he points his finger at is Isaac. He steps right up and drops his name, making Professor Grimaldi instantly remember him as that exact same hothead who was ready to brawl on enrollment day. The teacher smirks, saying he actually loves spunky kids like him, and casually reveals he brought the absolute perfect opponent to test his limits. Suddenly, a massive lightning bolt smashes into the arena. The guy stepping out of the smoke is Erwin de Sax, the exact same creepy shadow guy from before. Erwin is the oldest son of the legendary Sax family, the absolute first awakeners and total tyrants who secretly pull the Empire's strings. Oh, and they are the exact same crew who murdered Isaac in his past life. Even though Isaac hates their guts with a burning passion, he knows his current stats are literal trash compared to Erwin. He absolutely cannot risk ruining his massive revenge plan. Playing it smart, Isaac completely backpedals. He openly admits he acts pretty reckless sometimes, but swears he is not stupid enough to fistfight a monster like Erwin, who is obviously way out of his league. Finding this hilarious, the professor jokes that with cowards like him around, no wonder Count Rabel ended up dead. Still, he suggests Erwin just pick a different punching bag. Visibly annoyed, Erwin snaps back that nobody here looks even remotely interesting. He completely roasts this year's generation, calling them pathetic weaklings. And what triggers his elite ego the most? The fact that a frail old grandpa is standing among them. Just to blow off some steam, Erwin demands they drag the old man to the front. Two terrified freshmen instantly grab the poor guy and shove him into the spotlight. Isaac is super confused, but then it clicks. And I know you caught this too, in the original timeline, things absolutely did not play out like this at all. Still, before the absolute slaughter begins, Professor Grimaldi lays down the ground rules. Neither side is allowed to hold back. But at the same time, they must avoid causing permanent injuries. Yeah, right, Isaac instantly sees through those fake words. Usually, fresh rookies can barely spark a tiny zap of electricity, but these stuck-up noble kids, especially the Sachs family, they play by totally different rules. Their overpowered skills unlocked when they were literal toddlers, meaning they already have boss-tier mastery. The absolute second that start signal drops. Erwin fires up his crackling lightning, telling the grandpa to brace himself because weaklings don't belong in this academy. Seeing this unfair execution, our boy acts on pure instinct and dashes forward. Bam, he takes Erwin's lightning blast head-on. Thankfully, his crazy secret training lets him tank it. Erwin actually looks stunned. Professor Grimaldi just starts clapping. Totally impressed, he points out that both guys just proved what it means to be true warriors. But then he completely shifts gears, calling them weak trash since neither of them could counter Erwin's strike. Even though Erwin obviously held back, Grimaldi dumps them into Class D, casually tossing out that they might rank up later. While everyone else thinks this is a disaster for our guy, it is literal perfection. Class D is the complete bottom of the barrel, loser tier. Which means zero spotlight. No Erwin, and no annoying Sachs family lapdogs breathing down his neck. But suddenly, some random student throws a massive fit. He starts screaming at Erwin that Isaac trashed Erwin's honor by interrupting, demanding he gets punished. And that's where we leave it, trust me, you'll want to see what happens next. Erwin asks Ezequiel if a tiny fly can stain a man's honor. Meaning, a big shot like him shouldn't stress over a total nobody as insignificant as our MC. Stick with me, we're heading into the busy academy cafeteria. Our boy notices nobody wants anything to do with this old guy. Typical academy logic, right? The weak always get treated like total outcasts. This triggers memories of his past life. He realizes he was basically exactly the same back then. Constantly chasing power, grinding like crazy with Silas just to hit Class A and Class A. That's strictly reserved for top-tier nobles who have been maxing out there skills since day one. He finally made it into Class A, which became his golden ticket into high nobility, bringing him one massive step closer to destroying the Sachs family from the inside. But looking back at his original game plan, our MC feels he was super naive. This time, he's forming a different plan, sitting down. Isaac breaks the ice, introducing himself and asking the old man's name. The guy apologizes first, explaining he's a monk currently locked into a vow of silence. Since our MC saved him, he drops his name, Shin, before zipping his lips again. Our guy immediately realizes how incredibly clutch this actually is. Hanging out with a loner like Shin means the whole class will dodge him. Zero spotlight. Zero worries about anyone watching his every move. This gives him perfect cover to gather intel on the Des X family and their allies, figuring out exactly how those jerks outplayed him in his previous life. But his master plotting gets completely derailed when a super familiar voice calls out. He looks up and absolutely freezes. It's his sister. Shocked, he immediately demands to know what on earth she's doing working here. Turns out, his little sister tags along everywhere. She fires back instantly, asking if he has any idea how insane the capital's prices are. Someone's gotta pay the bills, right? He totally gets it, but he's still wondering why. She chose the academy. Suddenly, Ezequiel storms over, absolutely furious, throwing wild accusations that our MC is actively harassing the staff. He's still salty about that combat class trick. Now watch this, he is using this as the ultimate excuse to start some major drama. Students start whispering. Everyone can totally sense it, things are about to get really ugly for our guy. Our MC just grinds his teeth. He knows this jerk has held a grudge since combat orientation. But he never expected the dude to stalk him here and twist a normal chat with his sister into something completely messed up. Ezequiel gets up close, absolute rage in his eyes, spitting out that this isn't his trashy little village. Our boy listens as this idiot rants about academy rules. He smugly reminds our MC that he's a total nobody, which is why his badge is completely blank. He claims that even if he eventually earns a blood drop and becomes a noble, it won't ever change the fact that he's just filthy, impure blood. Finally, we get the guy's full name. Ezequiel de Normandy, the youngest son of the prestigious Normandy house. An A-rank noble family, and wait for it, one of the absolute closest allies to the Saxe family. Before things escalate further, let's talk about these high-rank nobles. Our MC explains it's literally just a fancy made-up title. Mostly because they awaken their powers as literal kids. Plus, they get insane privileges before even enrolling. The blood drop proves their high rank. As for the impure bloods, they're late bloomers who enter the academy just to learn how to control their powers. Basically, snobs like Ezequiel look down on them like dirt. Knowing this, Isaac tries playing it cool and starts apologizing, but Ezequiel suddenly just throws a massive punch. He asks our MC, who gave him permission, to speak. The whole room goes dead silent. Then Ezequiel mockingly gives him permission. So our boy plays along, begging the guy to just let him go. But did you catch that? Ezequiel definitely did. The second he threw that punch, Isaac dodged it perfectly. Zero impact, not even a scratch. That realization totally ticks him off. He figures out Isaac actually coated his body in lightning aura during the strike. Isaac scrambles to say it was an accident. But Ezequiel takes it as straight disrespect. In his twisted head, this just proves Isaac needs a brutal lesson. Our guy wonders if a real fight is actually breaking out. Suddenly, boom, Ezequiel vanishes. Next second, a crazy lightning-infused punch sends Isaac flying backward. He tanks the hit, but immediately realizes just how monstrously strong this dude is. He's forced to go all out just to block, but what happens next is wild, even. With maximum defense, he realizes it's still not enough. Ezequiel is just completely overwhelming him with raw power. Now Ezequiel starts taunting him. Isaac gets violently smashed into a wall, cracking it on impact. He totally underestimated Ezequiel's power level. Ezequiel walks over, genuinely impressed the guy is even still awake. He tells the crowd to watch closely, bragging that this is the harsh reality between high nobles and trashy, impure bloods. The brutal beatdown continues. Our MC is getting totally humiliated. Still, Ezequiel refuses to stop. The attack goes on until Isaac can barely stand. Just as Ezequiel preps the final blow, Madeline begs him to stop. Trust me, you and I are gonna love what happens next. Let's dive in. She steps up, taking all the blame so our main guy avoids the punishment. Ezequiel pauses for a second. Taking a much closer look at her, he gets totally intrigued. Then he totally shocks everyone, suggesting she takes Isaac's place instead. Grabbing her hand, Ezequiel tells our boy he better be grateful, because his sister literally just saved his life. Dragging her away, that creep adds they're gonna have some fun. Our guy can only watch helplessly as his sister is taken, right before he completely blacks out. In his past life, he abandoned her, totally blinded by revenge. And because of that, she suffered horribly at the hands of aldermen and the Count's goons. Suddenly, our guy wakes up screaming his lungs out. He immediately gets in Shin's face, demanding to know where his sister went. Someone tells him to chill out, reminding him that Shin is literally under a vow of silence. Turning toward that super familiar voice, he is absolutely stunned to see Silas sitting there. Naturally, our guy instantly sees red. Honestly, Silas is pretty shocked he's even alive, pointing out he was knocked out for a whole day and looked totally busted up. Isaac demands to know about Madeline. Silas just sits back, casually explaining that she went straight back to her job. He admits he has no clue what Ezekiel did to her. With high nobles, nothing is safe. To those snobs, commoners are basically just disposable pawns. Still, Silas tells him to just be glad he survived. It was all thanks to his sister. But right then, Silas stops talking. Mid-sentence, he notices Isaac's entire face change. Just absolute, burning rage and pure hatred. Watch closely because this is where it gets crazy. He swears Ezekiel's bloodline is the first he'll destroy, wiping out House Normandy. Next up, we cut to their massive estate. Ezekiel acts super happy seeing Madeline arrive right on time again. He fakes being apologetic about bothering her, but still expects her to clean up his mess. Our boy's sister just grits her teeth and takes it. Ezekiel leads her inside, acting all appreciative, while totally hiding his sick, twisted little hobbies. The next morning, our main guy takes a walk with his sister. Throughout their entire conversation, Madeline swears Ezekiel didn't lay a finger on her. She claims the rich kid just calls her over sometimes, purely to flex in front of his snobby friends. When our dude asks if that is really it, she just repeats herself. She hard commits to the lie, insisting absolutely nothing bad happened. Making things even worse, she reminds him how that noble kid totally clowned on him before. So he would definitely notice if she was getting beat up or abused. Isaac fires back, explaining he was just super worried and wanted to make sure Ezekiel wasn't hurting her. Getting a little annoyed, she brings up how he was actually the one needing a rescue last time, instead of sweating over her. He needs to focus up on his classes, because once her big bro becomes a fancy noble, she totally plans on spending all his cash. With that, she walks off, leaving our guy deep in thought. He can instantly tell his sister is just trying to hide her pain. You and I both know it's only a matter of time before he wrecks Ezekiel. Later at the academy, our boy hits up lightning training. The Class D students keep completely whiffing the target, making their instructor go crazy. Elise Sinclair absolutely roasts them, saying this Class D squad is way beyond broken. Right in the middle of raging, she glances over and actually spots our guy helping out the old man. Our dude gets totally startled when Professor Elise stomps up to him. He politely corrects her, dropping a proper introduction to set the record straight. But she completely ignores it, still calling him Alec. Then she suggests he show the whole class his skills, which obviously ticks our guy off big time. Anyway, she challenges him to see if he can snipe the furthest target. Everyone in Isaac's class is whispering, wondering if that is even possible for his level. Our guy just takes a massive internal sigh. Back in his past life, the dude was an absolute beast who could hit every target blindfolded. Even with his current weak body, pulling this off is literally child's play. Boom, he fires up his power, and his lightning smashes right into the target. Elise is actually blown away that someone finally managed to hit the mark. But then she loses her mind, realizing the other students totally missed it because they were busy staring at our main guy. Meanwhile, Silas watches everything and smirks. Walking away, he notes our guy has real potential. Shortly after, Professor Elise gets up in our guy's face again. She points out that if he hadn't embarrassingly lost to Ezekiel earlier, she might have actually bumped him up to Class C. She keeps calling him Alec, making him wonder if she's doing this to troll him on purpose. Still, she tells him not to get a big head, calling him the biggest tadpole in a super tiny pond. Our main guy actually remembers this professor from his past life. Back then, she was part of the crazy Order of Liberation, totally responsible for murdering him and his crew. Even though he absolutely despises anyone linked to that order and the Sachs family, he knows she is right. There is a massive gap between purebloods and a mixed blood like him, to even sniff that insane level of power. He'd need 10 years of hardcore training just to match Irwin. But trust me, you're gonna love this. He already knows a hack to close that gap in one single day. Once again, our guy thinks about those elite nobles. Everyone knows they spam awakening pills just to jumpstart their crazy lightning powers. But here is the thing. He realizes they keep popping these pills nonstop to buff their lightning stats even more. Even then, those pills are weak. They only partially unlock the part of the brain that actually controls the raw lightning. Alright, let's dive in. To keep absolute control, these nobles built an emulation machine. It unlocks pure lightning potential called a second awakening. It is a top secret for high nobles to crush the impure bloods. Even our lightning-awakened main character does not stand a single chance. That is probably why Ezequiel absolutely wrecked him so easily earlier. But hey, our guy needs that machine, and he knows exactly where to look. During the Britannia War, the Normandy family led Gaul to victory. The paper shows the older brothers got drafted, meaning Ezequiel is totally alone at the mansion. Coincidentally, the Normandy family are top-tier nobles. That means they own one, and he is striking tonight. Boom, we cut right back to the Normandy estate. Our main character shows up, knowing this entire layout completely. Because in his past life, after hitting a class, Ezequiel invited him and Silas over constantly. Bypassing security is basically like stealing candy from a baby. The only problem, if Ezequiel is awake. Now pay close attention here. He checks the room and freezes. His little sister is getting scolded. Ezequiel warns that if she does not clean right, she will end up like the other girls. Our guy instantly sees red. He charges in, eyes flashing with pure killing intent. Ezequiel blocks the sword strike, totally furious that someone dared to interrupt him. Meanwhile, our main character swings again, raw hatred and burning anger in his eyes. After trading a few hits, Ezequiel is not impressed. One strike sends our guy flying. Seeing this, Ezequiel just mocks him. Then he gets super curious about his connection with Madeline. Getting even madder, Isaac demands to know what he just called his sister. Ezequiel smirks, totally surprised. He honestly thought Isaac was dating her. He tells our main character to be super proud of his sister. She is a relentless worker. Adding that every night, she cleans up his twisted little games with other girls. A job he could not trust to normal maids. Obviously, our boy is practically foaming at the mouth, while he was out training alone every night. He never guessed his sister was trapped by this monster. Madeline begs him to run before dying. Ezequiel corrects her, happily planning to kill them both. Our guy realizes his training is still not enough against him. So he tells his sister to trust him, dashing away in a flash. Ezequiel laughs, calling him a massive coward for ditching her like that. But I know what you are thinking. Running away? Nope. Ezequiel realizes he actually sprinted deeper into the giant mansion. This could only mean one thing. His real target is the emulation machine. Ezequiel refuses to believe a peasant even knows about it, but just to be totally safe, he sprints after him. Meanwhile, our main character is running, thinking how he has been inside this mansion so many times. Back then, the Normandy family threw massive parties, flexing their shiny emulation machine all night long. Finally, he spots the actual machine. Ezequiel screams at him, calling him a filthy, impure bastard. But our guy ignores him completely, jumping inside and cranking it to max power. Seeing this, Ezequiel is absolutely shook, demanding to know how he understands the machine. His desperate attempts to stop him? Useless. Our hero says it is way too late, finally hitting his one and only second awakening. And yes, he can. Feel his lightning magic spiking like crazy. Ezequiel curses him out for ruining his precious family heirloom. Summoning his own avatar, he screams at Isaac, claiming that despite the power-up, mastering an avatar takes years. He attacks, smashing the machine and screaming for his death. Sadly, it is way too late. Ezequiel cannot even process the madness on screen because our guy just fully summoned his avatar. The literal soul of his awakening, linking his brain straight to his heart. And as the main character, his power is completely broken now. This is the absolute hype moment. One single punch from his avatar sends Ezequiel flying outside the property. The noble still cannot believe this nightmare. Our guy coldly tells him they are not done yet, and the crazy beatdown starts. Ezequiel, however, mocks him, claiming it takes way more to kill him. Our boy expected exactly that. After trading a few brutal moves, our hero takes the lead. Now he does the mocking, asking why Ezequiel stopped laughing. Our main character barely broke a sweat, while Ezekiel desperately struggles to survive, still acting all arrogant. Right here, he drops a massive lore bomb. He explains that a lightning user's avatar literally feeds on emotions. So right now, with all the absolute hell he suffered because of these toxic nobles, you and I see it. His hatred is unmatched. The creator just gave the ultimate power up to a dude with massive anger issues. Alright, stick with me here. Now it makes total sense why our guy is so impulsive and reckless. Any troll trying to bait him is finished. Ezekiel is stunned by this outcome, and worse, he is completely out of juice. In response, our guy's avatar clocks him right in the face, like some Karen practically begging for a beatdown. He then unleashes a crazy yo-yo-style barrage of punches, once the smoke finally clears. Our MC steps up, telling the fool he never wanted trouble. With Ezekiel handled, he leaves the Normandy estate right alongside his sister. We jump to the next morning at the Noble Academy. Ezekiel's death is the main topic of gossip everywhere. Amidst all the wild rumors, our guy stays totally calm. Since he made it back with his sister before Ezekiel's body was found, plus he is safe, even if they investigate. Who would suspect a D-rank student took out Ezekiel right after his little thinking session? Silas walks up, mentioning the sudden assembly. Soon after, he casually drops that someone murdered Ezekiel. Our hero fakes genuine shock hearing this. In his head, he knows Silas probably told him personally just to test his reaction. After all, in his past life, Silas was a master strategist, practically the mastermind behind infiltrating the Sachs family. Watch closely here. Isaac chooses his words super carefully when Silas hints that Ezekiel's killer must have been his equal. Isaac plays dumb, expressing doubt. After all, Ezekiel was in Class A and definitely was not weak. So he guesses a British spy did it. Solid theory, since the Normandy family is currently fighting over there. Silas agrees, but points out that someone probably knew about the hit, considering Ezekiel had way too many enemies. Our MC says nothing. It seems that blank expression totally gave him away. Smiling, Silas reassures him, noting it is impossible for a D-class nobody to kill Ezekiel. At this point, Isaac is certain Silas knows something. Still, Silas walks off, saying Ezekiel deserved it, before urging Isaac to check on Madeline. Isaac absolutely hates the way Silas brings up his sister. Just then, Professor Grimaldi demands total silence in the hall. He announces the news everyone already knows about. Another instructor chimes in, warning that Ezekiel's killer is still on the loose, dangerous, and urging students to stay alert. That is Claire de Jordan, the head of discipline, when she blames the murder on the enemy nation. Britannia, Professor Grimaldi gets furious, calling them cowards. He swears to catch the culprit and demand blood for blood. Later that exact same day, in the bustling city, our MC strolls alongside his sister. Just like usual, suddenly, the gala knights start loudly announcing the presence of British assassins. Hearing the knights offer 100 gold coins for tips, his sister jokingly suggests turning him in. Isaac eyes a poster. You see where this is going, right? They call him the noble killer. He smiles. He can use this. At home, Isaac opens his bag, revealing a massive stash of arcanite. Madeline, completely stunned, asks where he got it. He says he swiped it from the Normandy family estate. After explaining what the arcanite does, Madeline gets furious. She suspects her brother is plotting something super dangerous. Isaac tries explaining, saying he cannot reveal everything. But there is a secret room at the academy he has to enter. Madeline tells him to stop right there. She already knows this is where he claims he is from the future, which makes her super uncomfortable. Still, he tells her he knows a way to get stronger, much faster, and if it works, it will help him become a noble way sooner. Hearing this, Madeline gets interested, and Isaac seizes the moment to ask for help, before she can daydream about spending the cash. Our hero hands her a shopping list of items to fetch. Meanwhile, he plans to squeeze every drop from that arcanite. Outside, Madeline checks the list. The stuff looks like a weird science project, but the sneaky girl has her own plans. She hopes he won't mind if she buys some treats for herself. Isaac's list has mercury, a conductor, and random stuff she does not get. She finally concludes her brother has totally lost his mind. Back to our MC. His thoughts reveal his original scheme. He initially planned to wait for the year-end ceremony, when security is usually chill. That was the perfect window to breach the secret room. But now, thanks to Ezekiel biting the dust, the city is on edge, meaning the security forces are super distracted. This is the absolute best time to infiltrate. As for the Arcanite, its use is already known. Still, Isaac explains that a future discovery reveals a better Arcanite trick to boost power. Right now, people just use it in big chunks. But later they will refine it into fragments, boosting discharge efficiency and lightning control. With his prep done, Isaac enters full Black Ops mode. Trust me, with his awakening, he is completely unstoppable. Let's see what happens next at the academy. Alright, stick with me. Inside, students are totally complaining about Professor Grimaldi's boring classes. Suddenly, our boy crashes down like pure lightning. The dust settles, and these kids are absolutely speechless. He casually blasts a wall with lightning. One student instantly panics, thinking he's Ezekiel's actual killer. Everyone scrambles out of the building. Soon after, 3 figures burst in: Professor Grimaldi, Elsie, and Erwin. Grimaldi figures our guy hasn't gone far. He orders a full building sweep, demanding this noble killer caught completely alive. Meanwhile, our MC is already escaping through the air vents. His whole plan: create a massive distraction in the North Wing. He knows this noble academy perfectly. While the teachers search there, he's using the vents to reach his main target, the South Wing. That's where the secret room is. As expected, the place is completely empty. Now just open the door. Because of his distraction, the door to Professor Elise's office is wide open, and she's nowhere around. Isaac remembers hearing about this secret room in his past life. He quickly spots the hidden passage right behind a bookshelf. But the key to open it? The Kama Sutra. He immediately calls Professor Elise a total pervert. Anyway, the passage opens up, leading straight underground. He explains, this is the Academy's hidden sanctuary. Apparently, high nobles hold their shady meetings and plots here. Maybe he'll find clues about his future assassination here. Walking through the room, a sketchy document catches his eye. Our guy is completely stunned. The file contains top-secret info on Silas Monfront and others. Now pay close attention here. Before he can move, someone walks in, suspecting the killer is a spy. Professor Jordan calmly steps inside, stating that high nobles have endless enemies. He didn't expect anyone, especially her. Professor Jordan explains she actually tried talking to Professor Grimaldi, but he wouldn't listen. She thinks an enemy spy killing a high-ranking noble is totally ridiculous. Unlike trash like our MC, Britannia has actual decency and would never use dirty tactics. Saying that, she suddenly blasts lightning straight at our guy, seeing his reaction. She taunts him, too scared to fight back and alert the others. She knows he killed Ezekiel, but unfortunately for him, in close quarters combat, she is virtually invincible. She instantly dashes forward to prove it. Our boy dodges her attacks, realizing she's crazy fast, as a strike nears his face. He blocks it with his blade. Jordan is shocked he's wielding Arcanite. He stays silent. Instead, he throws a heavy slash, forcing her back. Seeing this, Jordan just keeps taunting. So what do you and I do here? He can't use his avatar without destroying the crypt completely. Mid-fight, he analyzes her moves. Wait, she's actually holding back her electrical discharge on every single sword strike. In other words, Professor Jordan is deliberately holding back too. He decides to use this. He finally speaks up, asking if she's also holding back to avoid collapsing the crypt. When he drops this fact, she scoffs. Does he expect her to believe he's just a student? She demands to know how he found this place. Our MC says he did his own research. Then, he promises to show Professor Jordan something she has never seen before. Jordan realizes he's about to summon his avatar. She screams, calling him an idiot, warning that his avatar will collapse everything. Our boy just ignores her, smirking that her warning is a bit too late. As he summons it, Jordan decides to kill him before the whole crypt gets destroyed. Meanwhile, our MC exhales, diving into his inner world. Inside, he comes face to face with a mysterious hooded figure. During meditation, a creature attacks, but suddenly, a compressed version of his avatar appears and smashes it, sending it flying. Then, the hooded figure speaks, calling him by name. He explains he mastered the clan's secret technique. Impressed, the man officially decides to make our MC his brand new disciple. Snapping back to reality, our guy uses a move called Compendium, an insane avatar compression technique. His massive avatar visually shrinks down. Seeing this impossible feat, Professor Jordan lunges straight at him. "Trust me, you're not ready for this." She's blocked and stunned, failing to understand anything because his avatar is fully compressed, looking like a summon straight out of Solo Leveling. Jordan just gasps, "How is this even possible?" "All right, stick with me." Our guy tells her if she wasn't so arrogant, he wouldn't mind showing off. Because his realm has countless avatar techniques, Professor Jordan just loses it. Completely insulted, she curses and charges right at our main character for round 2. But this time, the avatar steps right up and blocks her cold. She instantly realizes this thing is insanely fast. So she decides to go all out. But honestly, she's losing her mind. She can't even take down his summon. Our guy totally notices. He sees she is completely blinded by pure rage. He needs to stop her before she wrecks the whole place. While she keeps fighting the avatar, he makes his move. He disables the avatar by chanting "replace." The summon vanishes in a flash, leaving Professor Jordan in total shock. Completely confused, she suddenly looks up and spots him right above her, ready to strike. Boom, direct hit. She totally fails to block it in time. Dropping to her knees, she grits her teeth and asks who he actually is. He doesn't even answer. Instead, he glares at her with pure killer intent and declares that he's the one asking the questions here. Jordan is visibly shaking now, so our guy kicks things off, asking exactly what they wanted with Sela's Monfront. She acts tough, claiming she knows he's going to kill her the second she opens her mouth. But then, he cuts her right off, promising to spare her life if she talks. She stares at him. After a quick second of thinking, she agrees to spill everything. Like always, it all leads back to the Sachs family, the absolute top dogs of the high nobles. They are terrified of losing their power to the impure bloods, basically the Academy's future nobles. Since they can't just ice them publicly, they let them climb the noble ranks. In fact, they even let them grow strong and multiply until the perfect moment to wipe them out. Professor Jordan calls this insane operation the Purge. Now pay attention because this reveal is wild. His eyes shoot wide open. Totally stunned by this, he demands she keep talking. So Jordan dives deeper into it. Once every 50 years, the Sachs family completely wipes out the impure-blooded nobles, rivals, and any rebels. Since a daylight massacre is bad for business, they stage wild events and plant seeds of rebellion right inside their own territories. That is exactly when the Liberation Order swoops in, using all that chaos as a fake excuse for justice to eliminate everyone. Our guy thinks back and realizes that is exactly what happened to him. On his execution day, the whole town suddenly revolted, which led to the execution of the king and all the other high-ranking nobles who stood against the Sachs family. But hold up, Professor Jordan is not even done talking yet. She adds that to make sure the purge goes off without a hitch, they actually handpick one specific student super early on in the academy. 20 years down the line, that exact person will be the one leading the next purge. And that person? Sela's Monfront. He then asks about the other 2 students. Professor Claire de Jordan explains that just like Sela's, they are backup candidates who could become champions and eventually lead this whole purge. He definitely got what he came for, so he casually tells her that this time around, he is going to make totally sure. The pure bloods and the Sachs family's master plans do not go the way they want. With that, he says his goodbyes to Professor Jordan. The exact second she thinks he dropped his guard, she lunges right at him, screaming that he is a total idiot for turning his back. Our main character just shakes his head. His avatar suddenly materializes out of nowhere and completely finishes the job. You and I both know what's up. When he acts sorry about killing her, she asks what he means. He stays quiet. But his inner thoughts reveal the real truth. He already knows her deal. She is a low-level grunt for the Sachs family, loyal to the absolute bone. During that entire fight, he never actually planned to spare her anyway. The scene jumps to several days later over at the Noble Academy. During this whole time, he has been keeping a super close eye on Silas. Plus, the Academy's entire vibe is different since Professor Claire de Jordan died. The high-ranking nobles now know an assassin can strike at literally any moment. Despite all that crazy tension, Silas, on the flip side, seems to be having a blast. Our guy thinks back to Silas's old comments about Ezequiel's death and really believes that right now. Silas still completely hates the purebloods, even though he admits he has zero clue what actually made him switch sides in the future. He also doesn't get why top nobles would ever pick an impure blood like Silas as their champion. Now our guy is genuinely curious about him. After watching him for a while, he notices one massive problem. His little sister is totally crushing on Silas. It is honestly so annoying for him to watch. At the same time, Silas actually seems to flirt right back with her, which makes the other Academy girls insanely jealous. Just as they get super deep into their little chat, our guy suddenly pops up, interrupting them. Maidley is low-key furious at his annoying antics and storms off while both guys just watch her leave. Silas completely misreads the room and thinks our main character is actually in love with her, before our guy can even clear up the crazy misunderstanding. Silas dips out, joking that jealousy is a bad look. Our guy is left totally speechless. Fast forward to the very next day. So what do you and I make of this? He reviews his findings. We know the 3 potential purge leaders. He had zero luck tailing Silas for weeks. But the other 2 candidates, totally different story. They are both class of purebloods. One is Professor Elise de Sinclair's daughter, named Jan. The other guy is Arthur de Jew, whose powerful family runs the capital's entire black market. All right, jump in with me. Our main character knows both these noble kids are absolute trash who eventually become pillars of the Liberation Order, so he keeps his eyes glued to them. He needs to gather intel before the next massive purge hits in 20 years. And hey, while he's at it, taking off a few noble heads sounds like a solid bonus. His plotting gets cut short when 2 students suddenly shout his name. He instantly recognizes them as his classmates, Milo and Bastine. Milo explains that after his recent crazy stunt at the academy, a new rule dropped. Students absolutely have to travel in groups now. It's basically a safety measure against the infamous noble killer. His buddies start groaning about how boring their professor's class is. Professor Grimaldi, that is, but our guy insists they really shouldn't sweat it. The guys then start joking around about that mysterious noble killer. Honestly, our guy genuinely enjoys hanging out with Milo and Bastin. Right then, Milo casually brings up this huge party Arthur is throwing. This is totally news to our guy, so Milo explains Arthur is hosting it tomorrow night. The craziest part? He is actually inviting impure bloods. His face instantly drops into a dark scowl. He knows exactly what this means. In his original timeline, Arthur only invited the commoners to humiliate them and send a brutal message. He vividly remembers how some students were badly mutilated and others didn't survive. Watch closely because right on cue, Arthur strolls up, casually waving with 2 girls on his arms, asking what they're chatting about. Bastin tenses up immediately, but Milo blurts out they were discussing the upcoming party. Arthur takes that as his cue to personally invite him, hyping it up as the party of the year. Handing over a sleek card. He insists our guy better not be late. Then he walks off, expecting them all there, while his 2 friends buzz with total excitement. Our guy checks the address and spots that it is in a super sketchy, dangerous part of the capital. Both friends are completely shocked when he straight up tells them not to go. He reminds them of their social standing. They aren't high nobility. Milo actually agrees, pointing out that since they aren't nobles, they are stuck at the very bottom of the food chain. He is honestly speechless seeing that Milo actually believes they are doomed to stay in Class D forever. Meanwhile, some mysterious girl is quietly watching our hero from a distance. The very next scene jumps straight to the day of. The big party. But before our guy heads out to handle his real mission, he decides to test something out. Walking into a private training room, he eyes the giant testing wall right in front of him. Punching the Arcanite Crystal Dead Center measures a student's raw power. Gathering all his strength, our guy decides to check his true power level. After smashing the wall, the Arcanite instantly glows blindingly bright, sending a beam of energy shooting straight through the cracks. The wall displays giant letters ranking your class level. His beam blasts all the way up to an A, meaning he is finally on the exact same power tier as those elite class A nobles. Combine that with 20 years of past life experience, and he is fully confident he can crush Arthur. But right before leaving to crash the party, something catches his eye. He turns around and genuinely can't believe it. It's a shiny nameplate belonging to Erwin de Saxe. Basically, this guy's power level sits in a completely different dimension. Beyond Class A, it's that classic anime logic. There is always a bigger, scarier monster out there somewhere. Still, our guy shelves that problem for another day. Right now, his #1 priority is dealing with Arthur's nonsense. Scoping out the party from a distance, he spots Arthur living it up. But then his face twists in confusion. You and I both know that's never a good sign. Yep, his 2 absolute idiot friends ignored his warning and showed up anyway. Our guy just cannot fathom why they'd risk it. But he can't really blame them, since they have zero clue what's coming. Oh, and he also spots Erwin in the crowd, and that dude is seriously tough. He figures he doesn't need to stress about Erwin interfering tonight. Shortly after that, his golden ticket finally arrives. As a shady guy walks down an alley, our hero suddenly yanks him into the shadows, pinning the dude down. He explains to us that this loser is actually Arthur's personal drug dealer, Bujo, by simply throwing on the guy's mask. Our guy waltzes right into the party without raising any red flags. Just as planned, the clueless guards let him through and literally point him toward Arthur's room. Once inside, he sees how wild this whole setup really is. Moving straight toward his target, he knows the clock is ticking down fast. Right then, this girl Gina calls out to him. Smiling sweetly, she asks if he brought the special goods for her. Thank God our guy came fully prepared. He slips her a pill, though she points out he's acting pretty quiet tonight. Whatever, she slaps his chest playfully and thanks him anyway. He freezes for a second, totally paranoid that she just felt his hidden combat armor. Instead of freaking out, she just teases him for wearing a chest plate, saying nobody is gonna hurt him here. After dropping that joke, she walks off hoping he stays out of trouble. Breathing a massive sigh of relief, our guy gets back to hunting Arthur. Walking down the dark hallway, he suddenly hears his target's obnoxious voice echoing. So he pushes the door open and spots Arthur, completely decked out in the official armor of the Liberation Order. Both Milo and Bastin are getting absolutely tortured. And bro, Bastin has literally lost his hand. He is just standing there, frozen in pure shock at the bloody scene. Meanwhile, one of Arthur's rich buddies nervously points out they went way too far. To cover it up, he suggests permanently silencing Milo and Bastin. But Arthur is way too out of his mind on drugs to even listen. The second he spots our hero, he gets hyped and demands the best stuff. Trust me, you and I are gonna love what happens next. All right, stick with me here. Arthur claims he's the absolute best and just wants a fun time, but our main character, dead silent. Arthur chuckles, wondering if the shiny silver armor left him speechless. Meanwhile, inside our guy's head, a totally different story. Dark memories flash by, the exact trauma caused by folks wearing that exact suit. Arthur is so hyped up, he casually reveals that this gear is actually a prototype. The absolute idiot even leaks their master plan to wipe out all impure nobles later. Turning to Milo and Bastini, Arthur arrogantly blames them for waking up. Completely fed up with this trash, our hero cuts him off. He tells Arthur to pump the brakes. Arthur looks super confused. So our guy slowly pulls off his disguise, coldly announcing that Arthur won't live to see tomorrow, even after laying down a straight death threat. Arthur literally wonders if he's tripping on some ridiculously strong drugs, but right on cue, a terrified goon corrects him. Boss, that is the noble killer. Boom, our hero launches himself at Arthur like a literal lightning bolt. Panicking, Arthur grabs Milo, using him as a human shield, reading the dirty play. Our guy completely switches tactics. He needs an opening to get his friends out of their safe. So, he summons his compressed avatar. Instantly, it drops right behind Arthur. Reacting fast, the coward shoves Milo aside and summons his own giant spirit. It is on. Problem is, Arthur's giant summon could literally collapse the whole building. Sensing this disaster, our hero's avatar completely vanishes into thin air. In that split second, he totally tackles Arthur. The noble finally realizes he got played. Meanwhile, Isaac yells to hold on tight. With raw strength, he carries the dude straight up to the roof. Up there, Arthur scoffs, asking if this was his grand assassination scheme. Now watch this closely. He thinks his rich party buddies will save him, but our main character just laughs. What friends? See, for high-tier nobles, public image is absolutely everything. Arthur's jaw drops as he spots Erwin quietly sneaking out of the VIP party. Isaac tells him to take a real good look. No respected noble wants to be caught dead in a shady joint like this. Hearing this harsh truth, Arthur acts tough, claiming his elite personal guards will handle the trash anyway. Right on cue. A whole squad drops in from behind. The exact second they hit the floor, our guy recognizes the deadly gear. Every guard is rocking an archonite exoskeleton. Our hero notes that this is totally banned tech. It literally destroys the user's body. Smirking like a complete villain. Arthur brags that these suits wire the archonite straight into their nervous systems. So basically, our boy is fighting 6 powerful nobles at once. As the guards rush in, he parries them. Then the rest swarm him. But he easily dodges, leaping way up to create distance. Hanging midair, he spikes a few daggers into the ground and activates his avatar. The massive spirit charges, trying to crush a guard with a huge punch. But surprisingly, the henchman actually throws up a solid energy barrier. That is when Isaac realizes these aren't your average bodyguards. But before he can plan, Arthur's gigantic avatar swings in for a massive blindside attack. Honestly, our guy almost forgot about him. Still, he brings his guard up just in time, blasting Arthur straight backward. Humiliated, Arthur mocks him, asking if he really thought he could show him up in front of high society. The idiot screams that once he cuts off the assassin's head and hands it to the Sachs family, all his debts vanish. Plus, he'll become their #1 favorite and lead the upcoming purge. Hearing this absolute nonsense, Isaac just smirks under his mask. Arthur is counting his chickens way too early. You and I both know this idiot never learns. Look at the ground, those daggers from earlier. They formed a trap. Our guy closes his eyes and focuses hard. It has been a minute since he busted out this specific, deadly technique. The voice of his old master echoes in his head. He taught him that archonite is basically fueled by raw electricity. But here is the crazy part: you can drain that charge. Do that, and it turns into the world's most unstable, explosive substance. His master always believed that mastering this move would make him totally unstoppable. Smirking, our hero speaks the trigger word: alteration. Instantly, the dagger trap activates. He starts absorbing all their electricity, forging pure black archonite. Suddenly, the elite guards realize their power suits are completely frozen. They are literal sitting ducks. And right now, our boy uses his skill to suppress every ounce of their current. He pulls all that raw electrical charge into one single point, and boom, a massive, blinding explosion rocks the rooftop. When the smoke finally clears, our main character calmly walks over and picks up a dropped sword. He lost a few throwing daggers. But the crazy damage was absolutely worth the trade. Somehow, the cockroach named Arthur actually survived the blast. The protagonist slowly claps, pointing out that using his giant spirit as a meat shield at the last possible second was actually a big brain move. When he teases that Arthur could have been a decent fighter, the guy totally loses it. He panics and begs, completely sure he is dead meat. Crying, Arthur claims he's secretly a good guy and definitely doesn't deserve to get packed up. So, our hero kindly reminds him that torturing helpless classmates isn't exactly good guy behavior. Luckily for this absolute loser, the hero actually has zero plans to finish him off. So what do you and I take from this? He's leaving Arthur alive to deliver a message: the noble killer is coming for everyone. And trust me, he is just getting started. Stick with me, you are not ready for this cold-blooded move. Before leaving, our guy literally chops off Arthur's hand. Arthur immediately lets out an agonizing scream. The next scene jumps straight back into the academy with our main character casually walking down the hallway. His mind just replaying yesterday's crazy events. He figures the Sachs family is already making their big moves, totally planting the seeds for the liberation order before the next purge hits. Suddenly, Shin snaps him out of it and points right at the infirmary. Our guy smirks, thinking about how slicing Arthur's hand off means that dude is completely disqualified from leading the upcoming purge. Plus, without both hands, Arthur cannot even summon his avatar anymore. That automatically makes him a total outcast among all those high-ranking nobles. On top of that, Arthur is totally going to hate his fake friends for abandoning him. Anyway, our hero actually just came here to check on his buddies. Seeing him, Baston brings up that he and Milo will be skipping classes for a bit. Shin quietly checks on Milo. While Baston explains they got into some serious trouble yesterday, he turns to Isaac, apologizing and taking the blame for ignoring the warning. But then, now watch closely, because you and I know the truth. Isaac tells them it was not their fault, blaming the noble killer instead. Milo is about to blurt out what actually went down, but our main character totally stops him. He makes up a quick excuse, claiming his friend is just in shock. He pushes them to stick to the official story, and both dudes agree. With that mess handled, our protagonist heads out. Since Arthur is permanently benched, the Sachs family desperately needs a brand new puppet who follows orders blindly. He has been keeping a super close eye on Silas, but honestly found absolutely nothing sketchy. It is like the dude is completely clueless about everything. That means his very next target has to be Jen Sinclair. Fast forward a few weeks. Our guy has been stalking Jen's routine and finally pinpoints the absolute safest spot to confront her. Right at that exact second, his little sister jump scares him. He instantly tries to hide what he is doing. Let's pause right here, because we both know you cannot fool a little sister. Madeline raises an eyebrow, checks the mirror, and totally exposes his weapon stash. Plus, she points out Arthur has been missing from school and straight up asks if her brother did it, rolling his eyes. Our boy tells his little sister to stay out of his dangerous business. Hearing that, Madeline sighs and admits she promised 0 questions. Mimicking his deep voice, she jokes he will say the less she knows the better. Isaac argues he does not sound like that, but she admits she found a clue. It is all about Jen Sinclair. She teasingly asks if he has a massive crush since he has been tailing her nonstop. He aggressively denies it and tells her again to mind her own business. He also claps back, reminding her she has been hanging out with Silas constantly. Madeline totally owns it, adding that the guy is actually super cute. Right in the middle of their sibling bickering, someone suddenly starts banging on the front door. They both freeze mid-argument, wondering who it could be. Trust me, you are going to want to see this. He opens the door, completely stunned, because Jen is standing right there smiling warmly. Wild right,